Welcome to the Podski. What?
Ooh, yeah.
You understand, baby?
Dig it?
Let me tell you another thing.
First name John, last name Baker. Uh-huh. Brother.
Hello and welcome to the Podski. I'm your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, John Baker. Welcome into episode 33 of the Podski. And we are going to do some reviews again. We got the three-man booth. We got Theodore Teddy Mongoose. We got Justin Andretti. And what's going on, fellas? It was a good weekend of wrestling.
It certainly was. I'll tell you what, I don't know if I would have volunteered to be on had I known that this was the 33rd episode in a three-man group. Oh, Christ almighty, man. This is giving me the EBGBs. I feel like that this is the episode that either makes the big turnaround and shoots the Podski to the stratosphere, or all of us get leprosy or something like that shortly thereafter because we made some sort of weird demonic turn. My gosh, I didn't realize the gematria, the numerology that was going to be going on here right now.
I didn't notice it until I literally read it out loud. I was like, wow, that's way too many threes.
Yeah. Spooky, scary skeletons right away. So I do need to say this really quick. I'm happy that this is going to get recorded. This is a pretty big deal. I was a little late getting on to the call today because my little monglet, all right, my little baby mongoose, she just read her first book tonight. So it was a huge deal. So we read Night is Right for Me. So we figured out that Nat the cat, he got things all wrong. You know, usually he wanted to sleep all day, sleep all day and not all night long. And the dogs made fun of him. And then all of a sudden he goes, full turn, tries to run with the dogs. And then he realizes he needs to be his own guy. He did the Cody Rhodes, man. He went out on his own, tried to make his own way, came back as a huge baby face at the end. It was awesome. So big happenings over here in the Mongoose Den.
Yeah, I think Night is Right for Me is the English translation of the Necronomicon.
Dude, if my daughter's first book was read off of human skin, and then we came into here on the 33rd episode with a three-man booth, and then John behind him is burning this really weird candle. I don't know if anybody else can see that. And there is this strange geometric pattern going on with that curtain thing that he has. So I guess we just opened a portal to hell.
He is in the big.
This should be a good episode. Yeah, this should be a good episode. Let's go.
Well, before we get any further, we got to send out T's and P's, a RIP to the Milky Way, Andretti's favorite restaurant of all time.
They tried to take my life, I'll tell you that, at one point. Their food's good. They've got a huge menu. I mean, I can't speculate on why they might be closing down, but they've got 75 people working in a diner at the same time. So it could have something to do with that. If that place closes down, there's going to be 1,000 people who are going to lose their job.
It also never a good sign whenever you are announcing your imminent closing on one of those Facebook posts that are just a plain color background with huge white text. So I would assume that that's the nail in the proverbial coffin. There's no coming back from that. You know what I'm saying? You can troll or mess around with some regular sans serif font, but whenever you hop in there with those big white letters on that color background, party over.
I don't know where I'm going to get a hot dog and a hash brown and a Snickers bar and a slice of pizza the next time I'm heading down your way. I don't know where I'm going to get all that.
Well,
I can take you over to Carnes. I can hit you with a hot bar with some popcorn chicken that'll spike your cholesterol, and then we could top it off with a little bit of everything from that big candy wall. That'll send you into diabetic shock. So don't worry, we got plenty of ways to kill you down here in South Central PA.
Well, we were just talking about that earlier before you got on here, Mongoose, that there's literally nothing around there. Like, they're the only game in town, and that's insane that, like, they're going to be closing down. It's wild. Like, closest place is Mercersburg, and Mercersburg ain't that close.
Yeah.
And you'd assume that it was just. I'm sorry, I was just gonna say you would assume that it's just that would be one of those things just simply by choice. You know, if you survived the 4 shutdowns in 2020, we're able to navigate through those waters, still churning out business now. Like you said, it's not like there's anywhere else to go or anything else to gather and eat around that area. So my hope is that the owners say, hey, we got enough money to not do this anymore. And that all of the teens and tweens that are serving milkshakes and all of that find something else to do.
There's so many people that go in and out of that place.
Yeah, there really is.
Every time you drive past there's like thousands of people at the Milky Way.
I love it. Like, you think 1,000 people work there and 1,000 people are dining at the same time.
Yeah, dude. For the people in the Netherlands that are listening right now, I just picture them thinking that this is some metropolis, Mall of America kind of deal, which it is, obviously, in a town with a population of 340 people that has 1,000 workers and hundreds of thousands of patrons every day.
There's so many people working in that place. Oh man, I think their payroll probably killed them. I don't know what else could have put them in the casket other than payroll. The price of hot dogs
in the black. Yep. Right. Price of the brick went up. That's what they say.
All right. So on today's show, we're going to be reviewing New Japan's Battle in the Valley, and we're also going to talk about Elimination Chamber. There were some pretty good shows over the weekend. I know that Andretti is going to, hammer down on some New Japan stuff here because he loves New Japan so much. But yeah, so before we get into doing that, we're going to do a new segment with our brand new trio. We're going to run a top 5. So who wants to go first on their top 5 of the week?
I'll kick it off. I'm not scared.
Yeah.
All right. So this top 5, we sort of kicked around. What is it? What could it be? You don't want to go through all the normal conventions of, 5 favorite matches or 5 favorite, whatever. And so I don't know which direction that you guys are going to go, but I'm going with my just 5 favorite things of the week, or, if this were to be something that would happen more often than, of the last couple of days, whatever that might be. And so my timeline here is going to start about 7-ish days ago. And my 5th favorite thing of the past week or so is that Reebok is bringing back the Blast OG. This is a huge deal for sneakerheads. It is one of those absolutely polarizing, kind of disgusting. If you look at it just as a lay person, it looks like, somebody threw some sort of like paint splatter, or you can use your imagination as to what else you could consider that white splodge that is on the back of the shoe. But it was worn by Nick Van Exel his rookie year in the NBA. It was part of the Morbius pack with the Kamikaze 2, with the Shacknosis, with the stripy Big Hurts. And so I can't lie that one is going to make me quite itchy here at the beginning of March whenever that drops. So I was excited about that. My 4th favorite thing of the week, and this is one that maybe you guys can have a little bit more insight into, maybe can lead to a little bit of conversation. My 4th favorite thing of the week is Juggalo Asuka. Dude, not only is she the greatest, like the best working person in this company right now, like just in terms of she gets in the ring and it is awesome. gets cranked up to 1,000. I love the new look. I love the fact that she slightly tweaked her finish. I love that she is a killer. The only thing I don't love is that they changed her music. I don't understand why we had to change that music up, because it's sort of the same, but
Different.
like, yeah, and shittier. You know what I'm saying? Like worse. So that's my only Asuka gripe, but she's the greatest, man. She's absolutely the greatest. My third thing of the week is FKA Sasha Banks, Mercedes Money, not Monet, Money. I've been singing that Money in my head over and over again all week, man.
Money.
This girl, she's great, and I don't want to say the greatest because I just said that Asuka is. So she's the next greatest. And here's the thing: you think about killer matches, women's matches that you've seen in the last whatever, let's say 7 to 10 years, and when I tell you Sasha Bailey from TakeOver Brooklyn, when I tell you Bianca Belair, excuse me, Sasha Beyonce would be interesting. When I tell you Sasha Bianca from the first Mania back with fans was absolutely killer. That was my favorite match of that entire weekend. Mm-hmm. And then Mercedes and Kyrie from this weekend, I thought, and we all pontificated and kicked around, that what is New Japan doing? Just opening up a dump truck of money to bring in Sasha or Mercedes or whatever, because she's not, you think the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You don't really have a women's division. If you want to build one, we get it, but there's all this talent and stardom, and there's all this, all these unfounded gems, especially in Japan, man, where they have that storied culture of women's wrestling. And I'll tell you what, after this weekend, I get it. I absolutely do. She is a absolute superstar. Her match with Kyrie was incredible. And if I say Bailey, Bianca, Kyrie, all killer matches, the common thread is Sasha or Mercedes. So she made it. My second thing is the Eddie Kingston and Jay White chop fest, slop fest, murder beatdown that happened this weekend. I read an article from Jake the Snake Roberts that he was sort of spouting off about, I don't get down with strong style because, essentially the fans all know it's a work. So why are you going to hurt me? The answer is because we know it's a work. So when you make it real or seem real and, hit hard in safe places, that it's much, much easier to really, really engage yourself in the theater that is pro wrestling. And those guys decided, hey, this is a loser leaves town match, essentially. And we're going to make this one count, and we are going to take you on a ride. And they absolutely did. So that was phenomenal. And then my top thing for the week, gentlemen, this is not necessarily wrestling related, but I'm going to need to take a couple of minutes here to tell you about the glory that is Physical 100, which is a Korean reality show on Netflix. And this is specifically important to fans of Japanese wrestling, New Japan wrestling, where you're used to taking in action while reading subtitles. Do you know what I'm saying? Or you get that, like, that big booming, that overhead intro voice first before the card and everything. It is set up so similar. There are 100 contestants, male and female. It's not split 50-50 by any means. It's probably like a 70-30 split, 75-25. They have bodybuilders, they have Korean special forces people, they have CrossFitters, they have actors, they have YouTubers, they have fitness YouTubers, they have strongmen. They have all these different builds and body types. Some people are absolutely shredded to the gills. Some people are just jacked up, like, Jeff Cobb style. And then they have, like I said, sort of like the YouTube CrossFitter or fitness ladies. And I'll tell you what, I'm like 6 episodes in. TV has to be really good to grip me nowadays. Aside from a couple of binge watches with Mrs. Mongoose. And this one, I'm literally just watching by myself. And whenever I catch a couple of minutes, I'm all in. They do, and this is no spoilers or anything given away. There is a challenge where they simply hang. So you have to hang and not fall. There's a team challenge where they are building bridges and moving sandbags. There's a team challenge where they are moving a 2-ton boat across sand. It is fantastic. And then the best thing about it is if you're familiar with like the MTV challenge and you like that sort of genre, you get sort of that competition and stuff there. But they're so polite. Like the subtitle, and I know that there's not one-to-one translations. Dude, the subtitles are like, great effort. I'm here to give it my all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so proud of you. You are so cool. Like all these things that never get said on American television because it's all just like burying people and F words and bleeps and whatnot. And these people are just like, oh, he is the greatest. And like, there's a Korean MMA fighter that's like, and not in terms of his infamy, but like celebrity. He's apparently like, it seems almost like a Conor McGregor's type. He wears like sunglasses. He's really well kept. He wowed people when he walked in, and like he's a total baby face, man. Like he absolutely is about like team and leadership. And I'm telling you guys, like it is 10 hours of your life, so it's nothing short by any means. But if you are just looking for some mindless TV, something to pop on while you're sitting on the bike or the treadmill or whatever, it is the way to go, man. It is excellent television. It is my favorite thing, even with all the wrestling we saw this weekend. It's my favorite thing of the last week is a physical 100.
Well, as soon as you were describing it, the first thing I thought of was like, that sounds like the Korean challenge. And that sounded awesome because I'm a huge lover of the challenge.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, and maybe there's some space for it, but there's not a lot of house time. So there's not built-in storylines of rivalries and whatnot with the people in the house. The rivalries all strictly come through competition, which again, like, and even if it's sort of a work or kind of a work, or, they put certain people together to do certain things, the way that it plays out, man, is just it's very entertaining. It's good TV.
Nice. What about you, Andretti? What's your top 5 for the week?
So for number 5, I'm also going to do something that's not wrestling related. I'm going to put over the McDonald's app in my number 5. So the way this started was on the weekends. I'll just get out of here and I'll go someplace and drive around and maybe stop at a Starbucks and do some work or whatever. But what happened was I would stop at McDonald's if it was early enough in the morning and try to get like two sausage McMuffins and a coffee, right? And I always drink iced coffee, so I go through the drive-through, and the first time I get it, somehow I only pay like $6 for two sausage McMuffins and an iced coffee, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good deal. Well, then I found out that their iced coffee is the same price as Starbucks iced coffee, and I'm kind of like, all right, that's a little weird. How the hell did I get all that food for $6? So I go there 2 more times over the course of 2 more weekends, and I end up paying a different price for all three times that I went at the same time of the day. I ended up getting a different price all 3 trips. So on the third one, I asked the drive-through operator how the hell that happened, right? And she told me that I got to download the app. And I'm like, well, I haven't been using the app at all for any of this. So, and then she was like, yeah, just download the app and you'll be able to get the, the iced coffee for $1. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I hold up the whole line at McDonald's and I download the app on the spot and I log in and everything. And I'll tell you what, this app is pretty good. It's pretty good. You can order in advance and you just go up to the drive-through and you tell them a code number and they just usher you right to the window and you get your food and you're out of there in 3 seconds. I could not believe how well done it was. First of all, and after I got in there and started digging around a little bit on the app, they've actually got really, really good deals on the app where you get, free stuff or points. They've got like daily deals. This is going to make everybody so much fatter than they already are, man. Like if you want to take advantage of this, you can actually do pretty well and get a pretty good amount of food for even less money than you are already getting at McDonald's. So it's pretty dangerous because every time I open the app, and I'm just going in there the last 2 days and playing around because I knew we were going to record, and I'm like, man, I can really go get this for this. And I had to stop myself from going to McDonald's like 3 or 4 times today. So my number 5 is going to be how well they've executed the McDonald's app and the whole process of getting there and getting your food and getting out of there fast.
Nice. I can't believe you get nice coffee for $1.
Yeah, well, that only makes sense though, right? Because they would have first revolutionized how you get your burger, fries, and soda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm sure they brought in the titans from whomever that created the dopamine hits that you get from refreshing your Twitter feed or whatever to make it so that Andretti just wants to sweat fry grease all day long.
I mean, let me tell you some of the deals that are going right now. I'm gonna read this down for you really quick. You can get free large fries with minimum purchase of $1. Okay, so that's pretty good. Free double cheeseburger or 6-piece nuggets when you buy 1. Pretty good deal. Free quarter pounder with cheese, Big Mac, or 10-piece when you buy 1. $1 hash browns is a good deal. 20% off purchase of $10 or more. Those are pretty good deals, man. If you really want to live on a budget and get pretty good food, look, I love McDonald's. I'm going to put McDonald's over. They're the best in the world, in my opinion. McDonald's is the best fast food in the world. I think it's really good. I think their food's great. And I shouldn't be eating it. I know that, but I can't stop because I love it. I'm going to go eat what I want to eat, and their food is good. So everything with that whole app and the whole process of ordering and getting the food and getting out of there in less than 10 seconds was unbelievable.
Dude, I can't wait for the Matrix to catch this and for Bake to get accidentally monetized here with a McDonald's ad read at the start of the show here next week. Like one of those ad drop-ins at the beginning.
We bought the Milky Way.
Yeah. We bought the Milky Way, exactly. So for my number 4, I put down WWE basically coming right out and saying that they think that Kenny Omega is worth more than Jay White. I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me thinks that that's probably accurate, and part of me thinks that is short-sighted. So I don't know how much more gas is in the Kenny Omega tank, to be honest with you. But I think that there's an opportunity here to get both of them, and they should try to get both of them and not debut Jay White until, I don't know, October. Why can't we sit on it for a couple months and get Kenny Omega involved in SummerSlam, or even earlier than that? So that was my number 4.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Omega. I can't imagine he wants to leave AEW, but I mean, never say never, especially with Cody. I don't know. That's really interesting if he would decide to leave and go to WWE. Be really interested to see how they use him and how he would adapt to their style. I mean, I'm pretty sure the dude can wrestle any style, but that would be interesting to see what they would do with him.
He would probably wrestle his own style.
You know what? I think we talked about this a little bit before. Whenever we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the Jay White versus Kota Ibushi and why Jay White's a better WWE fit. If I'm WWE and I have X million dollars to spend on a wrestler, it's Jay White, and it's not only because of the style, but like you just said, we got a guy that's in his late 20s. I would assume Jay White can't be 30 years old yet, is he?
I'm on it.
Okay, thank you. But versus, Kenny Omega's late 30s, who also
30
just got his entire body operated on. Jay White's 30.
Same age.
Yes, who got Kenny Omega. Yeah, there you go. So Kenny just got his entire body operated on. And, that style that he wrestles doesn't have longevity in terms of, being able to do that night in and night out. That being said, Kenny did say, this was 5 years ago, that one of his dreams was to wrestle AJ at WrestleMania. You can't do that if you wrestle for AEW. But that being said, I don't know if it's worth, because he dances to the beat of his own drum. And I don't know if it's worth him, giving up the latitude that he would if he would go to WWE. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I totally forgot about him saying about his dream is to face Styles at WrestleMania. It can't happen this WrestleMania, obviously, because of Styles is hurt, and plus I don't think Omega's deal is up until after WrestleMania. But at any rate, I'm assuming if Khan was smart with the contract and knowing that Omega was injured, there's going to be time added on, so that might not actually be true, that it might be past April. So it's interesting, but I can't imagine that Omega would want to do Forbidden Door, at least. I don't know why he would want. He doesn't really have to, I guess, but it would.
Has that even been announced?
I would assume that they're going to do another Forbidden Door too.
Yeah, I think that is informally announced that they're doing it. I don't know if it'll be in Chicago again, but I think that right after the first one, because the first one was such a success whenever they had no idea, because that card got totally train wrecked and derailed. Yeah. That essentially they wanted that they were doing a second one, and that, like you just said, John, I don't know how he doesn't do that. I guess the next factor is Kota Ibushi. And so, maybe that would be a tell to see where he goes, and maybe Kenny follows, because if you don't get to wrestle AJ, which AJ probably doesn't have many WrestleManias in him. That being said, though, it's not like AJ can't just do a Mania in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They defrosted The Undertaker once a year for how long? So, I'm sure that they just did it with Batista.
Yeah, that's really, because I don't think that Styles, he's not gonna be on the road. He's already been saying he doesn't want to do full-time scheduling anymore. That's interesting, for sure.
There's nothing on the New Japan site past March 8th. Actually, April 8th.
Yeah, I think wasn't Forbidden Door, wasn't it in June?
I think.
Yeah, we saw the time.
It was like late June, because it was the first time that they had like a 4-week turnaround for a pay-per-view, if you remember, because they did Double or Nothing. And then that was sort of one of the talking points was, how are they going to do essentially a WWE schedule month to month pay-per-view, as opposed to having the 3-month build in between.
Considering the 3-month build doesn't seem that great anymore, but I'll save that for later. What else you got in your top 5, Andretti?
Okay, so I had let's see where we're at here. I had the CMLL entrances. The CMLL entrances are really great. They basically all come out to either metal or hard rock music, and it's fantastic. And I just wanted to put over whoever's doing the music in CMLL is trying to win my heart, and they're doing a good job.
Do they have Scissor Fight Hammer Down?
They might as well, man. It might as well be all scissor fight. Yeah, it's great. It's really good. It's a great show. The production's excellent. The lighting's really good. the work in the ring is excellent. Like the crowd's great. Everything with CMLL is really fun.
I can't say that I've actually ever watched CMML.
Look, it's on YouTube. It's free. It's on YouTube for free. So you can go check it out. Go to their page on YouTube. There's a million different things on there. They post different shows every week. I mean, because they run Arena Mexico every Friday night. So there's shows every single week.
Okay.
Now it's in Spanish, so you might not know exactly what it is that they're saying, but you'll pick it up pretty quick. You'll be able to follow along.
I'm educated.
Yeah. So for my number 2, I put I got to give credit where it's due. At number 2, I put Nick Gage versus Mike Bailey from the other night here in LA at the Ukrainian Center. GCW title match. That show was pretty good. The whole show was pretty good. That was the one that Cardona was in the Indiana Jones gear and took on Nick Wayne, and that was pretty fun to watch that match. But Nick Gage and Mike Bailey, they had an actual wrestling match, and it was very good. And Gage surprisingly did a really good job for being 42 years old, and jumping around in there and doing his thing. So that I got to give credit where it's due. I'm not a huge Nick Gage fan, but I thought that match was really good.
Yeah, I'm surprised you were giving Nick Gage his due here for once. I thought you were going to bury him at first.
You got to do it when you see it, man. And he's not my favorite wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a deathmatch guy at all, with that stuff. But surprisingly enough, that match was pretty damn good. So I gotta put him over for that. But my number 1 that I had was Beth Phoenix and Rhea Ripley from Elimination Chamber, and I'm sure we'll get a little bit more into this. And I don't want to say too much now and not have anything to talk about later. But I thought they were the stars of that match. They looked really good. They were going at it. They were really physical, and that really should be assuming that Rhea Ripley's going to win that belt at Mania, which I think she's gonna do. That really should be her first match. Her first match after Mania for the defending the title should be with Beth Phoenix, and I would love to see it. I thought they did a great job.
That's interesting because typically I could care less about what Beth Phoenix does, but I'd be interested in that. It'd be something different for once. Instead of just treading the tires on somebody else in the division, like give us a legend to go throw in there. Why not?
That match got a lot. I've only heard good things about that match, which is fascinating. Do you know what I mean? Like I haven't read or heard a review that didn't say something to the effect of that match wasn't perfect, but it was fun. And in watching it, it's not like I thought differently. I didn't have anything negative to say about it, but that's usually not the reaction that you are going to get across the board on a mixed tag. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the last time that really happened was the Rousey debut match, where people universally were like, hey, that was really good. That was fun. Again, like it wasn't a technical masterpiece, but the match itself was fun. And so that was good, Jay Andretti. I was not expecting that, and I give you credit because that was well deserved.
Yeah, nice top 5. I dig it.
Ooh, what do you got, Beck?
I'm gonna do an honorable mention at 6, and I'm gonna put over the DJ Khaled 5s. I am going to bury Nike.com for releasing them under retail and 25% off. Screw them for that, because I totally killed the resale on them, and I was trying to sell them, and then I ended up, because I'm going to lose money on them, so I kept them, and those things are fantastic. The leather is buttery soft. I've never been a 5 guy. I've never been into the 5s. I'm not big into the 3M and all that on the tongue, but I put them on, and those things are nice. I literally wore them all weekend long. They are so comfy.
Fives are a great pair. And the thing about them is that so my 2 favorite pairs of 5s that I've had in the last couple of years, I had the Bel Air, the Fresh Prince Bel Air 5s, the ones without laces in them. Yeah. And that was like the Nike Air in the back, the grapes. Mm-hmm. And I beat those things into the ground, man. They were a great sneaker, really, really high class materials. And then the 2020 release of the Fire Red 5s, the missus made me downsize, so those ones were on the chopping block. it's fascinating because that's one of those sneakers where they look great on the shelf. They don't always look great on people's feet. That being said, when they work, not only do they work really well aesthetically, but I think that they're a really comfortable pair. I'm a big fives fan.
Yeah, I never had a pair of fives. I always despised them because I just didn't. For some reason, I just didn't like the look. And then I put them on. I was like, all right, I'm on the fives now, especially because it's got the Nike on the back and the We the Best. Like they're great, fantastic. But my number 5, I'm putting over the Daytona 500. We never talk about racing on here, but I went over to mom and dad's on Sunday. We're recording this on Tuesday. Went over on Sunday, watched the race with mom and dad. It was a good time. Really let my inner South Central PA show there with some NASCAR talk. That's so NASCAR talk. We should do. Andretti knows all about that NASCAR talk. So
I sure do. I sure do.
But yeah,
I don't mean to do this to you, John, but this is time for story time with Teddy here, really quick. The last time this happened, we talked Ryan's. Andretti, if you were there, I hope you were there, and I think that we've discussed this since. But we would go to Eaton Park. Are you familiar with Eaton Park, John?
Well, I know where this is headed.
Yes, I'm familiar with Eaton Park.
Okay, so in my late teens, early 20s, we would many a night we would hit the midnight buffet on Friday and Saturday.
All right.
Because we weren't doing a lot of. There was no crazy rabble rousing. We were literally dudes that hung out, played video games, and then we'd go and get something to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, to be honest, looking back on that, I'm pretty proud of myself for staying out of a lot of trouble in that way. And we hit the midnight buffet one night, and we are standing there to be seated. And the people in front of us, there's a man and his lady wife. And they say, sir, will you have smoking or non-smoking? Because at this point in time, smoking was still widely accepted in, especially in diners style restaurants. And there were, that smoking section was on this side. Through the partition door opening thing was the non-smoking side over here.
Those were
the dude looks square at that hostess. And he says, we'll have the chewing and racing section, please. And I wanted to be in the chewing and racing section. You know what I'm saying? Like wherever the chewing and racing section was, that's where I wanted to be, man. And so I'll never forget that. I got quite a few Eaton Park anecdotes up my sleeve that I can, sort of deal out here as time goes on. But that chewing and racing section was a big deal, and it forever will be a big deal. The chewing and racing section.
I think I've been there for 20 years.
Does Eaton Park even exist anymore?
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen one in forever.
Yeah, it's still a chain. They don't. I don't think any of them are open 24 hours anymore. And I think they're all completely done with the midnight buffet. But yeah, they're still open.
I love that you have in your short time that you've come on here, you've provided us with great buffet stories. I hope
it's a buffet story, man. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And the crazy thing with Eaton Park is that the one, as far as I know, this was last year anyways. So my parents, especially since I've moved away, have completely given up on the idea of actually preparing food for themselves. And so they only eat takeout 8 nights a week. And my mom, nonstop last Lenten season, because we're right about there, Ash Wednesday's tomorrow, said that I need to bring you Eaton Park's fish. I don't know why she's not going to Fish Fries. I don't know why she's not going to Kinzotti's. There's all sorts of places that you could get good fish. And my mom opts for the, what God only knows where that's farmed from, probably from Bob's Creek or whatever. But they bring that in, fry it up, throw it on the plate. And so, Mommy Mongoose is a huge Eaton Park fish fan.
I love the Kinzotti's shout out. I was not prepared for that.
Hey, dude, game recognized game. You know,
I think it's a church. I think it's a church now. I know the Gonzales Market is still open, but there was a Gonzales restaurant on Scalp heading down towards Wimber, which is now a church.
I've been to the church at Gonzales since I was a wee lad. That was what I thought that the cold cuts and cheese was from. It took me to church. Amen. Amen. You know what I'm talking about, John? You're a pop culture guy.
He was born in 2018. He has no idea.
Yeah, I know. Didn't get it right.
Right. I think that song came out in 2016. So shortly before Mama Baker birthed Johnny, we hey man. You need to drop that in. You got to drop that in. Hey man.
Number 4 on my list, I have Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. Those two together on Raw every week are a fever dream. They are fantastic. Everything that they come on there and do for this build to WrestleMania is awesome. And the fact that Paul Heyman said he was going to fuck Brandy last night, like, that was awesome. It's so great. They need to keep all of this momentum up. We got 39 days till WrestleMania. Let's just keep the train going. I can't wait to see this match. It's going to be awesome.
Paul Heyman, I absolutely mean this. He is the best non-verbal character on television. Like, not only he's magic with a microphone in his hand, but everything he does next to or behind Roman Reigns, his facial expressions and stuff, man, he's so good. He is so good. And I don't mean to jump ahead, but him saying to Kevin Owens, I never liked him. I'm here with you now, before he caught that stunner, was awesome. Spent 2 years licking Roman Reigns' boots, and then, oh no, it was all a jig. Oh, I'm with you, Kevin, just so that he wouldn't get stunned. And because he's such a greasy slime ball, it's just forgiven. It's whatever. You know, I love it.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Number 3, already mentioned Mercedes Moné. Not gonna just retread what we've already said about her. Pretty much money. Yeah, playing over and over in my head. We're gonna insert that in here right now.
Money.
That was something that I wasn't expecting to be as good as what it was, but I'm so glad that it was really good. And we'll get to it later on in our Battle of the Valley review. But number 2, I have Eddie Kingston. I'm super happy to see that he actually got out and got to do something, since his whole opportunity deals, or I don't know what's going on with him in AEW, but he hasn't been on TV much. He's few and far between. But he was awesome. He put in a really good performance. Really happy to see that for him, because I think that he's somebody like him is really lacking from that show right now, is how I feel about that. And then number 1, I'm gonna put over the Harvest Seasonal Grill in Harrisburg. The missus and I went there on Saturday night. I got the surf and turf, went for the big boy, the big boy dinner, and it was A++. It was fantastic. Topped it off with I washed it down with a nice vodka Sprite, and then finished it off with this. They had this cinnamon bun dessert thing. It was it had crumbles of cinnamon bun in the bottom. It had a cinnamon icing. Oh,
what a description. It had crumbles on cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds awesome. What did you say that was again?
Harvest Seasonal Grill. It's
Artist
right there at
Seasonal
the,
Grill.
it's there at the shops at Susquehanna. It's like it's on the opposite end of where that Ramon's Steakhouse or Ramon's Steakhouse, Ramon's Macaroni Grill. And it's awesome. They do like it's so like it's a whole seasonal thing, and it's all like farm to table. It's awesome. It's really good. But yeah, Mrs. and I went there for a little Valentine's Day gimmick, and it was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. So that was number one on my list.
Awesome.
So, but yeah,
Dude, that was a heck of a 15. That was a way to kick this off.
it was. I'm pumped now. All right.
I'll tell you what. You tell the audience. Yeah, we went from Korean reality TV to CMLL and YouTube to ending up at a farm to table restaurant.
Yeah, let's go.
I got a couple of shows I want to put over before we get going with the reviews.
Put them over or bury them. I don't care.
Well, the first one, I don't know if you know this, if you guys even know this, but on New Japan World, the Fantastica Mania shows start technically tonight at like 2 a.m. Pacific time. So I'm not going to stay up to watch that. But Fantastica Mania has been going on for about I don't know, maybe 12 years. I think 10 or 12 years. I think they had a couple years off there with the pandemic, but a lot of talent from Mexico is going to come over here. From CMLL is going to come over here, and they're going to work with the New Japan guys on those shows. And it's basically every night for the next week on New Japan World. I don't think they have a show on Saturday, but basically, it's going to be every night for the next like 6 or 7 days. And you'll get a really good mesh of the Lucha Libre and the Japanese talent. I think Naito's working every show, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tanahashi's working almost every one of them too. So there's going to be a lot of really good wrestling on those shows, and it's on New Japan World. So definitely give that a whirl if you got the opportunity to check it out.
Oh man, five-ish nights straight of wrestling for Naito can't be good for that poor guy, man. He has the body of like his body, I should say, looks as if he's about to take a suplex and just turn to sand. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it is nuts. Like he's built the way that anybody that is whatever 38 or 39 or whatever years old wants to be built. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not, but like he looks like, and especially compared to like 4 or 5 years ago, he looks like. And I mean it's the way that it's going to come. He looks like exercise hurts. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, it's just, he's that poor guy, man. I hope he gets through this unscathed, or that they have him working smart, which, I mean, those Naito matches usually end up with him just falling on his neck a whole bunch of times. So I don't know.
It's like if he sat on a foam roller, his femur would just snap.
Yeah, it is really, really crazy because the first Naito match that I don't want to say that I watched, but that I really remember was the G1 final that he had with Kenny Omega, which I think that might have been a 6-star match. That was so awesome. And not only was he at the height of his Naito powers at that point in time, but physically, dude, he looked very different than he looks right now. Like he looks now like a dude that, spends a little bit of time on a stationary bike to keep his wind up, but like, that's it. And yeah, man, all those neck bumps year after year. And the bad thing is I mean, I've probably only seen a couple dozen Naito matches because it's not like I watch every single show that he wrestles on. And every time I see him, just like, oh, this guy's poor spine.
Oh, he looks like he's in pain every time he's in the ring.
He needs to hit a fat burner with an energy that that's how you build strength, and that's how you elongate your spine.
Keep the flow going.
Yep.
Yeah. Also coming up here on Friday this week, there's 3 shows. There's 3 women's shows called Women's Night Out, and I have the link here. It's going to be on TitleMatchNetwork.com. And it's $10. There's 3 shows back to back. There's a Eastern time, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 7 o'clock shows. Ashley D'Amboise is taking on Camille Brickhouse. I know that's one of the matches. I'm trying to see who else is on here. Kenzie Page. Let's see. There's a lot. There's a lot of people on here. There's going to be 3 back-to-back shows. $10, titlematchnetwork.com. If you're free on Friday, you want to watch some good wrestling all night long for 6 hours, that'd be a good one to jump into for sure. Shout
out Ashley D'Amboise.
Yeah, of course. And I also what was the other one I had? I know what the other one was I wanted to talk about was the since we went to Long Island last year and had an unbelievable experience going to that VPW show. We were kind of talking about maybe doing that again this year, going to an indie show together over the summer. I just got on there real quick last night on Cage Match to see what was already booked for the summer. And I saw a show that was booked in Asbury Park, New Jersey, which is within driving distance of where, all 3 of us are going to be. And I was like, well, holy cow, we could go to that. And it's an indie show, and it looks like we don't know anybody on the card. So that'll be pretty fun to go see this. It was called Mount Rushmore Wrestling Climbing the Mountain. was the name of the show. And people got booked. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They already got talent booked. And I Googled it, and it's not real. And it was a scam, and people got booked to a show that does not really exist. And looks like we're not going to the, Mount Rushmore Wrestling over the summer, boys.
Wow. No one's climbing the mountain.
Unless we book it ourselves.
Unless
we book it ourselves. Maybe that was a sign from the heavens that we got to hop onto phones here, and we got to bring in what is that, Jack Pack and the gang, and say, hey, it's time to climb the mountain.
And we got to bring in Bushwhacker Luke
and the Insane Clown Posse.
Yes,
and the Insane Clown Posse.
Yes,
we need Shaggy 2 Dope out there, drop kicking Fred Durst. We need Violent J holding the cane, barking at ringside. I talk more about the Insane Clown Posse if I have to. I could kill a dead transition real quick. What you guys know about the Southwest song? Maybe I just make another
Battle in the Valley. Battle in the Valley took place this weekend, and
before we do the battle, or Mongoose.
Scratch.
Yep. Those Air Force One Tiffany's are they are dropping on March 7th for the draw, and they are $400 for a draw for Air Force Ones.
This is where Nike gets annoying, because if they wanted to, could and should make shoes that are going to sell for $400 just be $400 and accessible to anybody. Because maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume that with a $400 price tag, you are killing the resale market, which is, that should be the idea, is that no one in their right mind should want to pay $1,000 for a pair of Air Force Ones. And that's a tough thing that I sort of grapple with. And this is just in the business sense, as to, I could not be mad at them for if they would have made like the Lost and Found Jordan 1s, if they'd have just made them a $300 shoe. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, people would have complained and they would have sold out. Yes. So they would have literally pocketed an extra $140 extra a pair. And the other thing is, at that price tag, you are knocking out a lot of people that are trying to, buy to just resell. Now, the biggest issue is you're knocking out every high school kid in the world. Like, they're not going to be able to get them. But that being said, that's a very interesting thing that they do that, or when they do that. And it's irritating, but I also understand, like, they're doing that Wings collection pair of ones. There's a pair of one lows, one highs, maybe something else. They're like $1,400, something like that, coming out at the end of the year. And I mean, if you sell 5 pairs of those, that's like selling whatever 30 pairs of Jordans. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's wild, but I also get it.
What's crazy on here is that
it's like
not include accessories.
Oh, and you know what too? It's them doing that is the WWE ticket model. Where you throw out a ridiculously high price and people are going to pay it. Everybody lost their mind about the get-in prices for that show in Scotland or wherever that was, that Battle at the Castle or whatever. And they sold, several thousand tickets at breakneck prices. And then they just started to bring the price down because no matter what, they were, they essentially had everything paid for from that initial rush, and then everything else is strictly profit. And if that's going to be the model with other things, I mean, you can't get mad at it. You know what I'm saying? If people are willing to spend the money, then the only people that can be mad are the people that can't afford to go. But if I'm the business guy, then what am I going to say? Give me all the money.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting because I saw they put up the official images. J23 put them up, and I was like, wow, okay, I want to see it now. So that was interesting. But all right, let's get into what we're here for. Show number 1, Battle in the Valley, New Japan's show in San Jose over the weekend. It's a very lengthy match card, and we had first on the card, we had Alex Coughlin defeated JR Kratos. And I know
this is the pre-show. This is the pre-show.
Okay. Well, I know that you got a lot to say about all these matches, so let's hear it, big guy.
Well, I said this is the pre-show. There's a reason why I said that. So you go ahead and do your thing, and then I'll chime in here with the next one.
I got nothing. I want you to give it to me.
All I wrote for Coughlin.
I was just gonna say, these pre-show matches, man. If you could just read results, unless Andretti got something to say, because I skipped the entire pre-show. I got other things to do.
For Coughlin Kratos, I only wrote the word no.
All right. And next was David Finlay defeated Bobby Fish, and Bobby Fish can fuck off for all I care.
Well, this is where the night goes downhill for me for a while, because I got a big issue with David Finlay being on the pre-show and then wanting to be taken and presented seriously later in the card. I've got a major problem with that. David Finlay's awful. I don't care that you've been doing this for 4 generations. Just because your dad and your grandfather were good at something doesn't mean you are, man. Go get a job is my advice to David Finlay. You're not good. Bobby Fish, sorry, dude. There was no way I was watching this match. I can't. There's very few people that I would want to watch less than the two of these guys go head to head in a match on a show that I paid money to see. I'm gonna just stop right there because I've already buried them enough. I'm gonna stop right there with them.
All right. Next we had you guys might have to help me with these names. But it's Masakara Dorada, Josh Alexander, Adrian Quest, and Rocky Romero versus Kushida, Volador Jr., Kevin Knight, which I think Kevin Knight we will see at GCW, right, Andretti?
I believe so, yeah. Kevin Knight's pretty good.
And the DKC. What do you got for that?
DKC is not my thing. I don't have much to say about that guy. I mean, Kevin Knight looks like he's a heck of a prospect for New Japan. So hopefully that's a guy that they can build off of with the dojo. I mean, I honestly, and I know they had obviously the issues with the pandemic like everybody else did, but I really do question, from looking at the depth on this card, whether or not that dojo is doing for them yet what they were hoping it was going to do, because there's not a lot going on here, man. For it to be a show where you're asking people to pay money, and look, I know the main events have got big names in it. I'm not complaining about the fact that Mongoose and I split money to pay for the show, whatever. I'm not complaining about that. But the thing is that if you're going to put on a card, you want it to be good from top to bottom, and not just have people on there that are filling spots. And I felt like there were people in this match, especially in the pre-show matches, that I don't know who wants to see him, man. I really don't know who wants to see him. I mean, this guy, what was that guy's name? The Adrian Quest guy. Look, man, maybe this guy will be the next Triple H for all I know. I have no idea, but I can't watch that guy's haircut, man. That guy has the worst haircut I've ever seen in wrestling. I mean, I can't do it. I can't watch it. I fast forwarded the match because I couldn't stand looking at that guy's haircut. And and Josh Alexander's fine. He's fine in the ring. I get it. Everybody thinks he's very well respected by his colleagues and by everybody else in the wrestling business that covers it. But I mean, it's just not my thing, man. The guy doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't move the needle at all. I don't know who he moves the needle for, but it's definitely not for me.
I know that Rocky Romero, that he's feuding with him and Volador have that big feud going on, right? In what is that, CMLL? So I assume that, and I don't know, I don't know everything that goes on in Strong, so I don't know if there's real alliances or anything there, but I don't know, that to me, it almost felt like those guys were like shoehorned in because they had something going on. Do you know what I mean? Rocky Romero is very interesting because he simultaneously makes me want to change the channel or fast forward, but then when I leave it on, you know what I'm saying, and I actually get his matches started, he gets over with me, like over and over and over again. There have been many times that I've been watching a New Japan show or Ring of Honor show or wherever he may have been, where I was like, I don't need to see this. And then for whatever reason, like I go get something to eat or I go get a drink or whatever, and it's on. And then all of a sudden I'm captivated. So I guess it's not a bad thing. As long as he's not rapping on his way to the ring or whatever, I'm cool with it. He was a little obnoxious whenever he was with Show and Yo. But yeah, that's that Rocky, that I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that one just seemed a little, I don't know, forced to have those guys in there with them.
I mean, they were both fine in the match. They're both fine.
Apparently the stuff that, and if it's the feud that I'm thinking of, because I haven't seen any of the stuff, but I know that they were in a match or a tag match or something like that a couple of weeks ago that Meltzer couldn't stop talking about. Said that, crowd was so amazing, old school, babyface heel, that it was great stuff, but I don't know.
All right. Well, next we had Fred Rosser versus Kenta for the strong open weight title. We got for that.
Fred Rosser sweats a lot, man. This is from a dude that sweats a lot. That dude can sweat.
Formerly known as Darren Young.
I don't know kind of what the deal is with Rosser. I mean, he definitely is better, more entertaining, and definitely better in the ring since his Darren Young days. But there's something about him in the ring that just doesn't connect with me, and I don't really know what it is. I think the guy's good. He's good. It just doesn't. Like multiple other people that are on this card and in New Japan Strong, they just don't do anything for me, and I want them to do something for me, and they just don't. So I don't really have anything, positive or negative to say about Rosser, other than the fact that I, give him compliments about the fact that he is doing better work than he was as Darren Young. But Kenta's great, man. I hated Kenta when he was in NXT. I love him in New Japan. The guy's awesome. I mean, everything he does looks really good. He's over with everybody. He's a hell of a worker, man. But the only other real comment I had about that match was just how I didn't think that belt looked very good. The New Japan Strong open weight belt looks to me like an indie belt, and I hate to say that because it's probably my favorite promotion right now, New Japan overall. But It's just that belt doesn't look good, and they got to do something about that.
I thought you were going to say for a second.
IWGP title is a crime. It's a crime against wrestling.
Yeah,
The fact that they took away that IWGP belt and brought that Divas title looking thing that they have right now.
Yeah, man,
for
their belts don't look good, man.
yeah, their belts are really bad. No, but Andretti, I thought you were gonna say it's a real shame that they don't have Bob Backlund still with him on the Indies.
Oh, it wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of those New Japan titles. They look so shitty. That's the only good way to explain them. Like, I guess that I know that they tried to say that the main IWGP belt was, supposed to pay homage to those the previous belts, but I don't know. It just doesn't look good.
That IWGP belt was beautiful. The Intercontinental belt was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like those were two beautiful titles that they melded together and made an ugly one with.
Yeah, I wish
it doesn't look like a prize. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't look like something that would be like cherished and fought over. Like I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
Like an indie belt. Like if we went to some rando show, it looked like that's what you would see for an indie belt. But all right, next we had the Motor City Machine Guns versus the West Coast Wrecking Crew for the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championship. And
I love Alex Shelley, man.
Well, I don't get the guns. They just
I think they're good, man. And yeah, like the thing that I like about them is that I spent I spent a lot of Saturday mornings watching syndicated ROH. And every time they were on the TV, it wasn't a waste of time. I mean, they're not, uber charismatic and or anything like that. I don't want them to be the world champion of my promotion, but I'm never going to be, never going to feel bad about watching a Motor City Machine Gun match. I think they're perfectly fine. And this was perfectly fine.
Has Alex Shelley ever had a bad match with anybody?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not burying them. I'm just saying that they don't move the needle for me like anymore. Like,
he does for me. He does for me, but Chris Sabin doesn't. But Shelley does.
I think that's the problem. I'm not a big Chris Sabin guy. I like Shelley a lot more than I like him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The only other note I had about this match was just that I don't know if there's anybody in wrestling history who's ever had worse gear per one career than Royce Isaacs. I mean, his gear is always really bad. I don't know what it is. Like when he was in NWA and we would watch those power shows, him and Tom Latimer, their gear was terrible. They were branded really terribly. And here we are with him and the other guy in the West Coast, Wrecking Crew, and they look like shit. Their gear looks like shit. Why are you called the Wrecking Crew and you've got tassels all over you? Come on, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, I agree. Their gear.
We do live in a world though where you got you have the Angelico fluorescent dirt bike gloves and whatever else that is. So that exists as well. So you can't forget about that one. That's the gear that always just makes my blood boil whenever I see that.
That gear is the worst gear I've ever seen in my life. And that little dance that he does on the way out.
That little dance is awesome.
The dance makes the gear awesome. But then before the dance begins and after the dance ends, it makes that whole attire is awful. It is the dirt worst attire you can ever put on a human being. So bad. Although you can buy the gloves if you want. If you are in the market for Angelico gloves, you can get them. You sent that in the chat, dude.
Well, that's what's funny is that I say it's the worst gear of all time, and there is a stronger than not possibility that I'm going to own those gloves, because I absolutely would want to be wearing those here and creating the orb like the people used to do whenever they would just drop E. I want to be doing that while you guys are talking and giving reviews in the future.
Well, considering we have all the threes here, you'll be creating all kinds of stuff over there.
Don't remind me. I forgot already.
You got anything else for this one before we get into the matches that I actually watched?
I got nothing for that match, dude. I wanted to put over Shelley and Burry Isaacs, and I got mission accomplished on that.
All right, so the big match that, aside from the Mercedes Money match, was Eddie Kingston and Jay White. Loser leaves New Japan match, and this was everything that all three of us love about wrestling. It is just two dudes, big meaty men chopping meaty men, and it was fantastic. It was a chop fest for what they do, 25, 26 minutes. It was glorious, just pure brutality, hand on chest, reciprocated. It was so good. I absolutely loved it.
And the really important thing with this, there's two things. The first one is I actually, for Andretti, sort of putting down the pre-show booking versus then what happens in this post-match angle, I actually thought that it was really clever to have the result of a previous match then say that Bullet Club's not allowed in the ring for this one. Because it literally set like a mano a mano tone for Loser Leaves Town, so that we weren't going to get any of the mess. I was actually sort of thinking, and I'm glad that it didn't happen, that when they made that announcement that the Bullet Club was just going to run out and that was going to be it. Do you know what I mean? Like I was in the back of my mind, I was fearful that was going to be the result, that they were going to give him the dump out of the Bullet Club or whatever, just by running in. But seeing a Jay White match without having all of the, the ghetto and everything else mess around it that has happened so many times, which I guess that's more bestowed on Evil now. But seeing that was awesome, to let him just go out there and, have a 20 some odd minute, like you said, just chop fest. The fact that they built the entire match around the chop, and this is the second thing that I really wanted to put over, is I think that it was Aiden English that said it, was that, sometimes you go to your strongest, your strongest move or your strongest feature or whatever. And for these guys, they settled on the chop, that it was going to be the chop that was either going to win or lose the match for them. And that was the story of the entire match, man, was that we got some moves and we have some things that we can do, but it wasn't just, let me counter the Rainmaker 300 times. It was, I'm going to fight you and I'm going to beat you and I'm going to stay. And I thought that was great. That Eddie Kingston roll out of the ring whenever he got the Jay White's finish was awesome. The crowd pop for a dude rolling out of the ring was great. I mean, it was absolutely great. Yeah, dude just goes full sloth, rolls out of the ring, and the crowd explodes. I thought that was great. And I'll tell you what, man, Eddie Kingston brought all of the fires of hell behind him on those back fists, and Jay White just took him.
Yes.
Oh my dude, how tough are you, man?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to literally take, and it's not like no sell, like not put his move over, like to do that, like sell, but like I'm still tough enough to not be like knocked out, just, toothless on the ground the way that I would be if I took one of those. Like, I mean, he caught each one of, what was it, 3 back fists or whatever?
Yeah.
And I mean, and he took the fury every time. This was awesome. This was absolutely awesome.
How strong does your hand have to be to deliver that many strikes like that in a match? Like, yes, we know that it's, we're gimmicking stuff here, but like you can't gimmick a slap to the chest. Like, how is that possible to do that for so long?
Not even those. It's the really impressive thing where if I was gonna have Mrs. Mongoose watch, she would think that it was stupid when they do the machine gun chops.
Yeah.
You give a couple of those hellfire slaps, and then you start that machine gunning. Like, you think about how many times you hit the side of your hand or the front where you just like stop and shake your hand out, like, oh my gosh. Like when they just go rapid fire.
Yes.
Those are brutal.
Yes. What'd you think about it, Andretti?
I loved every second of it. I thought it was a hell of a match. Both those guys are excellent. They did a really great job. They're both tough as hell. It looked super believable. Everything came across really well. It felt like a really big match, and that's why we love pro wrestling, because of guys like the two of them.
Yeah, and you know what? Then if we're through the match, I was very, very unprepared because I'd watched this one in the morning because it started after the Elimination Chamber, which I was tapped out by then. And I'm sitting there, and I got Baby Mongoose is crawling around and everything, and I got the match on, and everything's all good. And then old boy comes out with the shillelagh, and I'm like, okay, here's David Finlay, right? And he starts talking, and by happenstance, I happened to be conversating with the little one. And thank goodness that I had the remote close by, because I thought I heard an F-bomb. And then when it just went totally off kilter, we're on paid cable or whatever. So I'm just going to go full Quentin Tarantino movie. Dude, I was absolutely mortified. Like doing that thing where like I'm just making noise so that my kid can't hear until I get the volume down. Like doing that, like, on, you know what I'm saying? Like that is a panic. That is a panic like something else, because we watch so many things with subtitles for just in case's sake. Mrs. Mongoose was watching Matilda this weekend, and there was a part where Danny DeVito's going off on the old lady about looks like a bunch of male strippers coming through here, and like we're able to see it, so like it's a bunch of male, and me and Rachel or Mrs. Mongoose at the same time we're like, just making noise. And the only bad thing about it is Baby Mongoose is always what happened, what was it? And so we have to be like, bad words, honey, bad words, you don't want nothing to do with it. And then he wouldn't shut up. So I don't know, because I did not go back and rewatch it, but him just sitting there blabbering into the microphone, I was just like, how many F words are you going to say, bro? Because I need you to stop so that I can continue watching this show from my kids' virgin ears.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you dance around and make the
noise, or I just start talking, really loud about something very random. Hey, where's the pie? Who likes pie? Huh? Cherry, vanilla, or whatever. I guess not vanilla, whatever.
It doesn't really matter to her at that point.
Right. Yeah. I'm literally just causing interference.
Worse than Gato.
Look, man, I know that they've got history between Finlay and Jay White going back 100 years, whatever. But it's Jay White's final thing you're ever going to see on New Japan TV, at least for the foreseeable future. And whoever gets that spot to do that promo and hit him from behind needs to be somebody who's ready to run with the football, and David Finlay is not that guy. So that is blown opportunity by New Japan.
Well, you think about it, man. You had the last couple of times this was done.
Yeah.
Like Kenny did it to AJ. Like, so we lose AJ, but now it's Kenny Omega, man. You know what I mean? Like, so
did they do it to Finn?
Well done. Yes, they did it. They did it to Finn first, and then they it was Kenny with AJ, and then it was Jay White did it to, I mean, it wasn't Okada leaves town, but you know, you had the big turn on Okada whenever Jay White left Chaos. But before then, even, you know, and Kenny wasn't actually out the door yet, but you know, Jay White beat Kenny at New Year's Dash, and I don't know, like it just at least before we had up and coming Kenny, who I do believe was the junior heavyweight champion at the time. Whenever that was done, you had Jay White, declined the Bullet Club invitation, then beats Kenny at New Year's Dash, and then you have Jay White's ascension turning on Okada, and it did seem like for this to be the star making moment, that it was a little miscast there, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I popped huge whenever he cranked him with that shillelagh, because like it was the heat spot. Like, dude has the microphone, like mega dirt rotten heel for 3 straight years or whatever it's been now, and he's gonna say his goodbye. The moment was awesome. It's just it's the fact that it was the person that they chose. I don't know. I mean, who's better suited for that? I mean, even like Juice would have been better suited for that, right?
I mean,
or Kenta, somebody.
Kenta would have been interesting to do that.
But that goes back to what you're saying before, though, Angie. The problem is you don't have a lot of bullets in the chamber to for next man up. Hey, let's make a guy. Because
but it's not the guy who's been wrestling for 20 years that can't get over.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that sort of goes into what you were saying about, you know, what are we doing developmentally here? Because there wasn't a guy ready. So if there wasn't a guy ready, then we had to go to a guy that's, you know, sort of been in purgatory for the last decade.
What about your guy, Chase Owens?
I don't even know where he is. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Whatever happened? Is the Bone Soldier still there?
Who?
Yeah. Ishimori just wrestled Taiji Ishimori. He just wrestled he was in that 4-way at Wrestle Kingdom for the light heavyweight belt. He came in there as champion.
Yeah, I forgot already. Good lord.
Which speaking of, going back to Physical 100 really quick, there's dudes there built like Ishimori, dude. Like, and there's dudes built like Kota Ibushi. There's dudes built like Jeff Cobb. Check it out.
All right. Anything else before we move on to the next match? Because I thought this was match of the night B for me. There's a 1A and a 1B, and this was 1B because this one was fantastic.
It was fantastic. It was an extremely good match by 2 super talented people that take this business very seriously and are awesome because of it. And they've got long careers behind them and hopefully long careers ahead of them. And both those guys, I left that match thinking that they were both superstars, man.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, and this was I differ from you, and this was 1A for me. This was the only place it was miscast in 2 places. And look, you're not going to follow Okada and Tanahashi, so I do understand it. But this was main event, man. This was as main event as they come. And I said this to you guys in the chat whenever we were talking before. The only thing that broke my heart a little bit was that this was in front of whatever 2,500 or 3,000 or 4,000 people at that San Jose arena, and this was like Wrestle Kingdom, WrestleMania epic level match. And I wish that it had a stage to complement the work presentation, like everything about it. Like I'm sure there were, maybe some missed spots or miscues or whatever, but I'll tell you what, like watching live time, everything looked clean. It looked like it hit. You had everything from that transitioned to Sasha's finish. There was the table spot where she did the slip through perfectly. Power bomb went through the table perfectly. So there wasn't like, there was no danger. Oh my gosh, is this one going to get up? I thought that this was awesome. The knees into the insane elbow, like, oh my gosh, man, this was a work of art, man. This was a chef's kiss.
It was. Were you just talking about the Mercedes match?
Yes.
I wasn't there yet.
Well, you said that it was 1B.
Right, but I didn't. Well, okay. Well, I wasn't there yet.
Oh, so what was
You had me-
1B for you? What's 1B for you? My fault. I thought whenever you started to say that, I was like, oh, he's getting into Mercedes money.
No,
My fault. Sorry.
So I was gonna say that was my 1A. The Jay White Eddie match was 1B because
I completely understand.
You got me so confused.
Yeah.
I was gonna say exactly what you said about the Mercedes Moné match, which we can go to that, or we can skip right over Tommy Lawler and Homicide.
No, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about that match too.
Yeah, forgive me for that. I that's what I thought that you were putting over the slap fight, and then you were going to say the 1B was money. My apologies.
No,
dude, I loved that Filthy Tom match. So go ahead, transition us over.
Give us the Filthy Tom review, Andretti.
I love Filthy Tom. Everything the guy does, I support. He's great on podcasts. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. He's awesome. He looks like an asshole. His little jean shorts are fantastic. I love the guy. I did think the match felt a little out of place on the card. Homicide is what he is. It went a little long, I thought, but other than that, it was fine.
I love.
Yeah, I thought this, you know what? It was a little long, but this was a garbage match. I love that Riccaboni, I believe it was, put over that Filthy Tom says that Homicide's a garbage wrestler, so he's hitting him with a garbage can. I love things like that. And it was a mess, and it was supposed to be a mess, but it was an entertaining mess. And that was unlike anything else on the card, and like you said, Filthy Tom's the best. I like the nice thing about knowing like the off the clock version of Filthy Tom too is just seeing him trying to get his pants off in the beginning. Like, that he took that the right way of like, I'm sitting here struggling, but it's not going to shake me. He played it up and hammed it up that he couldn't get his pants off to come out. And then, wrestles the whole thing and then finishes, and he has the jorts pants underneath his pants that he wrestled in the whole time anyways. I think that he's the greatest, man. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Homicide is what he is, like you said, and good on Filthy Tom for being able to not only compete in that kind of match, but to make that match fun to watch, and still be Filthy Tom while he was doing it all. And the right guy won. So yeah, all good with me.
And then we got a match that you're not gonna convince me to watch, a Zack Sabre Jr. match. I'm just gonna bury that right now. I'll never do it. If I'm watching something live, it's a piss break. I'm not watching. I like Clark Connors, but you're not gonna get me with a Sabre Jr. match. You're just not gonna do it.
I like Zack Sabre Jr. now. I hated him for years, but he's put on good size. I love him with TMDK. I think they're awesome. And that match was pretty good.
I can get down with Sabre Jr. being in 15-minute time limit matches. I understand that the people that really love him are the people that love amateur wrestling, catch style wrestling, those kinds of things. The problem with me is that I was not an amateur wrestler, and I'm not really into catch style wrestling and, all the different like joint manipulation things. Like I'm more of a, if I'm looking at wrestling styles that are not the American style, I'm a strong style guy as opposed to that. that being said, everybody that knows anything about those things all love Zack Sabre because he is very good at what he does. He's just not, it's not my cup of tea. He does look 1,000% more believable as a pro wrestler now that, you know, he has sized himself up. But aside from that, yeah, a 15-minute Zack Sabre match is fine. I had this one on while I was doing other things. I hate to say that, but it's true. So, I mean, everything seemed fine, but yeah, I wasn't completely captivated by this one.
Yeah. I was just ready to get on to the next match where you greatly put it over already. And that is the Mercedes Moné match with Kari. And I'm just going to double back on what you said, that this match was a dome show Mania caliber match that was seen in front of like 3,000 people that should have been seen in front of 100,000 people.
Guys, there were almost 20,000 people there.
It didn't look like that. It didn't feel like that, at least.
That arena was packed all the way to the top.
I know it was packed. It just felt.
I want to believe you. I'm gonna look this up right now to see what the attendance was. I'm not even kidding, dude. I thought that there was 3,500 people in that building.
I did too. It sounded so good. The crowd was ultra responsive, and I liked the crowd. It just didn't. I just felt that it was a small building. I have no idea how big it even is. But
the entrances were great. There was a huge pop for Mercedes.
Yes.
Awesome match, man. I was concerned going in about, you know, ring rust and maybe she's not as over as what they were, you know, hoping she was going to be coming in. But I mean, all of that, I was wrong about all that stuff, man. I mean, she looked absolutely fantastic. It looked like she hadn't missed a beat, maybe better than ever. You know, right call with the win to give it to Kyrie, but Kyrie's so good, man. I mean, she is so good at what she does, man. For her being, you know, as small as she is and selling her ass off and everything through that whole match, both of them were fantastic and just an unbelievable match that I'm definitely going to go back and watch that a couple more times.
For sure. I really thought that the entrances were awesome. The dancers were kind of meh, but it was cool. It was a cool idea. And I really liked.
Yeah, that was my only thing, was that it was a cool idea, but I don't know, like it didn't come across great. And that's New Japan's production's fault too. Do you know what I'm saying?
I thought it was on the lighting. Like you couldn't see them. They blended in too much with the backdrop, I thought. And you couldn't really see them, but they presented Mercedes as a huge star, and she looked like a huge star. She performed like a huge star, and all of us in the chat had our doubts about this match and how this could be an absolute dud. Like this could be a Saraya type situation for New Japan, and it was everything but that. It was fantastic. She looks like she hasn't missed a beat at all. She looked like Shawn in 2002, like just came right back and acted like she hadn't been off the road in years. Like she looked fantastic. And
that goes to show too that Kushida put her over huge, because she's been working with Kushida in preparation for this match. And so like for you to be somebody that is as big a deal as she is, which she is, you know, obviously if she was able to outprice WWE and then catch her price elsewhere, then you're a big deal. Like you're worth what they pay you. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, whether or not you draw the money or whatever is another story, but she's worth what she's worth. And she still, you know, she could have absolutely went out there and just did some, you know, greatest hits, the theatrics and the all the Saucer Bank stuff just rebranded. And she went and trained and worked with Kushida. He put over and over again how hard she trains, how hard she works, and it absolutely all showed.
It was. And I thought that the start was awesome. It was a really hot start, and it went right into almost the bank statement. I thought that was fantastic. And that pinning sequence that they did midway through, I thought was fantastic, that then led to the big spot with the table. I loved all of it. I thought that this was the 1A match, and then Jay White for me was the 1B. They were, both of them were so good that you can't give them a 1 and a 2. You got to make a 1A and a 1B for me.
Sure.
You're going to go back really quick. There were 2,155 people at that show.
That's not right. Sorry.
It's on NewJapan1972.com and Cage Match.
There's more people that were at that show than 2,000.
There wasn't 20,000.
Uncle Phil
Tell
was
me that's not right.
Bailey and Uncle Phil were both in attendance. CM Punk was there. Kenta shouted him out and said about how he was going to, some about his go sleep. 2,000.
Look. And then if I go here, NJPW 1972, Battle in the Valley, attendance 2,155. I'm telling you, man, and it seemed, I don't mean this in a bad way, it's just it was what it was. It seemed like a there you go, from New Japan's website, 2,155 sellout. It seemed like a very one of those very hot Cody Rhodes on top Ring of Honor final battle venues.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like that, for real, that was what it seemed like. Not one of the little TV tapings at the ECW arena or whatever, but like whenever they book one of those arenas in Baltimore or whatever, and you know there's people there, but it's not chock full to the brim. And that was my only thing. And the production, obviously they had delays and stuff again, which, look, man, you can't be charging money for shows and then this happens. Remember the Chicago show last year? That same thing happened where they had that delay forever, and we were griping back and forth about wasn't there like an NBA All-Star game or something? Maybe that's why they pushed it back on purpose. I might be mistaken, but I'm fairly certain that it was due to streaming issues, because the NBA All-Star game wasn't until Sunday. I mean, they might have been trying to make, I don't want to say excuses, but have a convenient reason to not be head to head with Elimination Chamber. But I don't know, man, you already got the people in the building. It's not like they're going home to watch the show, or they're not watching Elimination Chamber in their car.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they would. I thought with the NBA stuff and with Elimination Chamber that delay could have been on purpose.
It could have. What a horribly timed event. To NBA All-Star Weekend, and
bad.
One of the possible culmination of the biggest storyline the WWE has done in 25 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
Battle in the Valley.
I don't know about the attendance. Maybe I saw 2,800 or 2,100 and thought it was 21. I don't know. I don't have an answer on that.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to be a guy that goes and looks it up, but I could have sworn, and again, it was just in seeing the crowd and everything there, I'm thinking to myself, like, big budget ROH show for crowd attendance and stuff, and I was just heartbroken that wasn't like, at the Cow Palace even, or something like that, where you would have had, 10, 12,000 people there.
Yeah.
The old Arco Arena, something like that.
Yes. Agreed. But what was really hard to follow this matchup was the main event, and that was Okada versus Tanahashi. And this match, for me, it's hard to watch Tanahashi. He's getting up there, and I want to if you go back and watch, like, even him 3 years ago, like, it's getting hard. He's in the Naito conversation for me now. It's hard to watch him. You just want him to be as good as what he once was, and he's just not. His body just can't do it anymore. I mean, he can, but not at the level like what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, the frustrating thing with this, and look, man, if you are an American audience that gets to see a New Japan show, this is, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're getting the two biggest stars of the last 15 years in that company. facing each other. So who's mad at that? That being said, two bad things. A, you have that match gets announced like the week before the show, which I know that that's how they do everything, but like, I don't know, like it kind of sucks that that's how you get your your match announcement. You find out that late that that's what you're going to see. Tickets are already sold. You know what I mean? All that. And then the other thing is that, you know, when I'd said this to you guys in the text before, that to me, this was every regular Okada match you ever saw. Like, I don't have anything bad to say. You're not going to see a bad Okada match. But that being said, it was a regular Okada match, or a regular Tanahashi match, if you want to say it that way. Like, it was regular, and it was no Okada main event is going to be 12 minutes long. So like, that's another thing that kind of sucks, is that like, you know that you're going to be there for a while. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. It was all right.
I get it. I get it that they, you know, why they wanted to have that match on the card. I get it. They want to have Tanahashi and Okada on there, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the match was fine. It made perfect sense to have the match on the card. I love both those guys to death, man. But do I ever need to watch that match again? No.
Yeah,
yes,
that's exactly right. Yep. That was pretty perfect summation. Is that if I was there, I'd have been. I loved it, man. You know, I would have got to see the two legends that have faced each other how many times face each other again. But it was really rough that your two biggest stars had to follow the best match that was going to be put on too. I mean, that crazy to say, but you know, that spot, and that's happened twice to Okada. You just had him come off of Wrestle Kingdom, where he had to face Jay White and win the title, and nobody cared because everybody was still cleaning themselves up after Omega and Ospreay. Like, I hate to say it, but that match was just whatever, because that Omega Ospreay was so insane, and now it just happened to him again.
Yeah, it's rough times for Okada on the card, and that's just because it feels like there's nothing there's nobody other than Tanahashi at like the level to get there. They just don't have enough depth on that roster, because you can't put Naito, you can't run that again. I mean, you could, but he's going to literally turn to dust if you do that. So yeah, that's what really sucked for me. It just felt like a regular old match, a regular Okada, a regular Tanahashi match that.
Well, they got Bronson Reed stolen from him by Triple H, because he was probably the next guy up.
Yeah, that sucks for them.
But sorry, we'll get David Finlay and Okada at Dominion.
If they give me David Finlay and Okada at Dominion, I'm not watching Dominion. I mean, come on, man. But that's the problem. Is like what we were saying, is like it's the same problem that AEW has in some ways with their women's division. Is they've got a couple people at the top that are really talented, and then there's a drop off. And I don't know who in New Japan is ready to challenge for that belt. They're gonna have to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Whether it's Moxley or somebody.
The only thing that would make sense, and this is strictly speaking for Dominion, because Dominion is their 1A show every year, but you would assume that it would have to be Ospreay, right? It would have to be. And
I don't think you go with Ospreay until Ospreay is ready to win the belt, and maybe it's time to do that.
But I'm saying, why not? You know, I mean, I look, man. To say that I watch everything that they put on television or stream is wrong. But that being said, I've seen Okada with the title enough. He doesn't need the title. I don't know how many new subscriptions to New Japan World Okada is selling. And if you want international reach, you can still use him. He doesn't need the championship. You know, they've sold a lot of tickets with legends being on the card, not in title matches. And this is, you know, every promotion ever. And so, yeah, I think that giving Ospreay the run that maybe he should have had before the neck went out or whatever is probably the move. It stinks that he got Shingo right away, and then sort of X'd out Shingo. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting to see what they're going to do at the top of the card there now. So,
Well,
but,
I thought the end of the show was really smart. I thought they did a really good job booking the very end, and giving people the visual of Mercedes and Okada side by side, and kind of doing the dual champion thing right there, and having them have a little interaction, made it feel real, even more so than her winning the belt felt real, I thought. So I thought that was great. I mean, look, man, sell tickets. Give me that intergender tag, man. If you give me Mercedes and Okada in an intergender tag, I'm all in on that. I think that's a great idea, and a great main event for an upcoming show.
that's an interesting idea.
Well, and you know what? To piggyback off of that too is that Okada and Tanahashi will be teaming now, and so they had said about them going for the tag titles. Look, man, and fantasy book here for 30 seconds quick. You put them the tag belts on him and Tanahashi, or maybe you wait to do that and then give them their run later. You put that IWGP belt on Ospreay. You give us Ospreay Omega 2 for the IWGP title at Forbidden Door 2 with Ospreay as champion retaining, and now you open up Okada and Tanahashi can actually breathe life into each other. Not that Okada is anywhere near the end of the road as close to the end of the road as Tanahashi is, but that's a nouveau mega powers. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that you can get a nice little run out of that. And who's going to be mad at watching Aussie Open versus those two or something like that? Not me. They got to get a little bit more. They got to get a little bit more mileage out of Tanahashi and Naito, because Umino is not quite there yet. He will be, but there's a little bit of a gap right now in who's going to be the next man up. Other than Ospreay, that's about where it is. They're in a little bit of a tough spot right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are. But maybe we'll see what happens with as they lead into that G1 and Dominion territory. Like we're well on our way now, so we'll see. We'll get a better idea around then too.
And we don't want to see. I hate to say, but it's true. I would love to see Shingo Takagi win the G1. Right? I'd love to see it. Yeah. But I don't need to see Shingo Okada 6 at Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
So. That was what sort of fell flat. Again, it's not Okada's fault, man. He's one of the greatest ever to do it. And it really, really sucks that he got at that Inoki tribute show and all that stuff, that should have been this big pageantry, pomp and circumstance deal and winning that championship. And look, man, I'm not there. I'm not a 30-year New Japan fan by any means. And so a lot of that history sort of, it didn't really fall onto me the way that it did. I'm sure everybody that was at the Tokyo Dome, but that one fell flat. We just said that this was whatever it was. And I don't need to see Okada Naito again. I don't need to see Okada Tanahashi again. I don't we really, really got to do something different. And maybe throwing him in a tag division isn't the worst thing in the world.
I think it's a great idea.
Agreed. Good show. I thought it was a good show. There was stuff that obviously I didn't like about it, but overall, the last thing we saw was Okada and Mercedes in the ring together, and I thought that was a special moment, and left me probably with a better impression of the overall show than what I would have gotten otherwise. But overall, I thought I enjoyed most of it, especially the end.
And that Monet and or Money, excuse me, the Money and Zayn match that's worth it. That's worth the price of admission. I will pay $20 if I get to see a match like that, and I got to see that plus that Jay White match. So I wasn't going to give it even close to a thumbs in the middle after seeing those two matches.
Sure. Oh, absolutely not. Definitely a thumbs up show just for those two matches alone. And yeah, it I mean, not a show that's going to blow your socks off, like top to bottom, but the two matches that you got in there with the money and the Jay White match, like those are just absolutely worth the price of admission every time, especially when they deliver like that. Totally worth it. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it's only because of those two matches. It's not because of the rest of the card. All right.
I would say really quick. I know we're trying to move on here, but I just wanted to say real quick again about it's a shame about the pandemic happening and everybody kind of losing time and losing the ability to work together and losing the ability to work in different countries, because I feel like strong is not where it should be. And they don't really have the depth to be running shows right now, especially paid shows like that, pay-per-view shows. So you've got to get the Okada Tanahashis on that card. And look, it's just a transition, man. They've got a transition, and I hope that 6 months from now things look a lot different than what they do. Not a bad show by any means, but there's work to be done in New Japan, that's for sure.
Well, it kind of seems like we've been through this a few times with New Japan, because something always happens where they got rated before and then they got rated again with AEW coming into the fold. And then it's always like, well, how are they going to pick up the pieces? And it does take a while for them to pick up the pieces. But when they do, they really hit their stride. It's really good stuff.
Sure.
We're just in that like you said, we're in that transition of, who knows what's going on here now. We're a little thin on the card, and hopefully in 6 to 9 months. I mean, there's no way they're going to not put on a good card for Wrestle Kingdom, but getting up to this G1 might be a little bit of a problem for them, at least in America for us, like especially with those New Japan Strong shows.
The last thing that I want to say with this one is that they do not and have not made many big blunders in terms of booking decisions and the perception of what those decisions were. And people have already talked ad nauseum about the Sami Zayn result and everything and what possible implications that could have. But we know that we know that there is the end of that, the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow is Cody Rhodes with the title, and everything will be just fine. But this goes to show how big of a blunder the Evil title win and then push that was a mess. Yeah. And that really sort of threw off all the momentum that they had. And again, you're in an island, waterlocked nation, and the travel's restricted, and they were very restrictive with people in and out, and who you have and what you have is very, very limited for a long period of time. And so you wanted to have a local guy or whatever, but gosh, that was bad. That was not good. And I think that they're still feeling the reverberations of that, because to make good with that, we just put the belt on Okada again. You know what I mean? And it's something that we all saw before.
Right. All right. So that was the Battle in the Valley New Japan show. And then the other show that was running simultaneously with this show was WWE's Elimination Chamber. It was the big show in Montreal. They really put all the stops. This crowd from SmackDown to Elimination Chamber on Saturday night, that crowd was fantastic. They were hot all weekend long. And we're going to start it off with this women's Elimination Chamber match. What'd you guys think of that one?
Well, I think the key word going into this whole show is the word restraint. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we get into this. But, with just the composure of this match, there's a reason why Liv and Carmella make sense being in this match. And I really want to give Triple H a lot of props here about just having the restraint to not take over the book and go in there and just do everything you want to do and just bury everybody that you don't think is a main eventer. He has done an incredible job of mixing where people were when Vince left and where he wanted people to be when he took over. He's done a remarkable job with that transition with the roster. And I really, really want to give him a shout out for that, because it's incredible that he's been able to do that, and to have the restraint to do that, and not just throw everybody out the door because he didn't see them in his own vision. So having Liv and Carmella in the time right now to be treated as though they're credible opponents is the way to do it. And then you phase those people out over the course of time, and you build Asuka and Raquel Rodriguez and whoever else you want to put in there. And I thought that it was really well done. The women's chamber, I thought was a very good match.
I thought the match was awesome. My one complaint with literally the entire thing was that Liv Morgan tapped out the night before, right? So she taps out in the Asuka lock the night before, and then she gets, she does the whatever you want to call it, the protected fall asleep spot in the submissions in the Elimination Chamber match. And look, man, when it was Brett versus Sean, I was team Sean. So when he was sticking the Canadian flag up his nose and doing all that stuff, I was riding with him. That being said, especially because you knew at the end of the night that Sami Zayn wasn't going to win the title, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but you couldn't just let Liv tap out to Natty. You couldn't give the Canadian people like one big hero pop for their own, the Hart family lineage, because I think that actually would have been awesome.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
It goes a step further than that, even, because Edge got beat last night and got pinned in Ontario.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until you said that right now. Yeah, man. I mean, and again, it wouldn't have been as big a deal if she didn't just tap the night before. So she tapped the night before. So what's it matter if she taps now? And the thing is you could have had her, take some, back fists and whatever, and she has no choice, but she's got to tap out. Like, I think that those people would have went unglued if they got a sharpshooter finish. But no, I mean, whatever. That's my only gripe with the whole match is that they gave her the fall asleep instead of let Natty throw it on there and get her the tap out and let everybody freak out.
It also doesn't make any sense because you put Natalya in there to be the veteran. And for her to not get a sharpshooter win over one of those girls doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that really sucked. I would have liked to have seen that, just because I do like Natty. And this like what you had talked about earlier, Teddy, this Asuka deal, this whole new rebrand that she's got.
Dude, she's so good. She's so good.
So awesome.
She injected all of the life into the Women's Rumble. When we went through the Women's Rumble, and it was, I particularly liked the end of it. I thought that there was a lot of ho-hum in the middle, but then she came out and started to kill everybody, and it was great. And then when she came last out of the chamber here, and was just a pit bull let off the leash. I thought it was awesome. And her and Bianca is going to be bananas. Yeah. And the only bad thing about it is that, like, I'm going to be so upset personally when Asuka doesn't beat Bianca, because I don't think that she will. But I think that that's going to make me like the match even more. Do you know what I'm saying? Is because, like, every Asuka near fall, or every time she gets her in that, that Rings of Saturn submission thing, it's gonna get me. I know this 39 days ahead of time, and so I think that that's going to be awesome. And I'm so glad that they recognize that this is your biggest show of the year. And it's just like Andretti said, how are we going to set this up? Oh, we're going to have her be a stone cold killer, and we're going to try to keep some people credible along the way, and not have her just bury everybody the way that Shayna Baszler did a couple of years ago, because they could have went that route too. That would have been just fine. But no, I thought that this thing was well booked, well done, well wrestled. And you know what else too? It was a chamber match that was like 20-ish minutes long, like 21 minutes long, something like that. So it didn't drag. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the time in between the pods was good, and then everybody's out of the pods, 5 minutes, finished, done. Thought it was really well done.
Well, think about this with Asuka too. She was so good in NXT that they didn't want anyone to beat her.
Yeah.
So when she left NXT, they had an actual ceremony celebrating her NXT career, and then she went to the main roster. When have you seen that happen?
Never.
They had an opportunity for her to pass that belt to Ember Moon, who was her good friend at the time, and they still elected to have Asuka leave NXT as the champion and like basically retire from NXT as the champ.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big thing. She's better right now than she was then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's so good.
She's so good. What Asuka and Belair are going to do at WrestleMania, it's going to be awesome. Oh, it's going to be so good. 39 more days, man. 39 more days.
Yeah, and you know what? Good on them too, because Charlotte, Charlotte is what Charlotte is. She's polarizing for all the right reasons, because we're just trying to get to 17 championships and blah 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 blah. That being said, if they do what we all think that not only they should do, but they will do, and that's anoint Rhea, insane WrestleMania moment. Just from the match should be fine, but that moment should be great. And then you have on night 2, I would take it, or whichever night they want to do that. I would assume you crown Rhea on night 2, right? Because if Bianca retains, you probably do that one on night 1, and then crown Rhea on night 2. Or maybe you crown Rhea night 1 if Cody's winning night 2. I'm not totally sure, but you're going to have 2 women's championship matches that are going to be huge, and they're going to have huge moments, and that are going to be, true like Mania top of the card matches, and that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got into, after that match, we were followed up with Lashley versus Lesnar. The only thing that I have here is just from what happened on SmackDown the night before, and that is, Lord, please, dear Lord above, do not put Lesnar versus Wyatt on that Mania card. Do not do it. I will be furious if that's what we get. And you're itching to give me your feedback here, babes.
I'm ready here, and then I'll let you jump in then, Andretti, because I know you got some good stuff on your take on it. So a couple of things I need to say really quick. One, you want to talk restraint. There was amazing restraint shown by Theodore Teddy Mongoose in not blowing the group chat up while everybody was doing different things, saying, oh my gosh, this Lashley match is my favorite thing. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. No! Because it was literally how I was going through it.
Yeah.
That 4 minutes of funk was awesome. Dude, in 4 minutes, we got 3 F5s and 3 spears or something like that. Car crash, big move. I absolutely loved it. I hated the finish of it. But I thought that it was going to be because we had Lesnar, Lashley, last man standing or whatever coming up at Mania. And the Uncle Dave report that I caught on the way to work this morning, on the commute to work this morning, is that we got Brock and Omos, and then we got Lashley and Wyatt is in the plans for Mania. Mm-hmm. So it would not be Brock and Bray. It'll be Lashley and Bray, and Lashley and Bray, whatever. I'll tell you what though, man, Brock Lesnar and Omos, I want that on a t-shirt. I want it tattooed. I want posters. That is going to be my favorite 74 seconds in all of wrestling this year, because Omos is just going to be Omosin, and Brock Lesnar is going to try to throw him as if he were a toddler misbehaving at a birthday party, dude. It is going to be oil and water, and Brock is just so mean, and I want to see the meanness. I want to see Omos sandbag him and Brock lose his skull. I'm in. I am all the way in with Brock and Omos.
So you only want to see them you only want to see it just for the car crash that could be, and then Omos.
I want angry. You aren't coming up for the F5. Yeah. You remember whenever Braun tagged Brock that one time, and Brock literally looked at him and said, like, "You're gonna die now, clown," and he unloaded on his face. Yeah. I don't want like shoot like actual like, you know, potato shots. But I want to see Brock just trying to throw this 7'2", 400-pound monstrosity around. That's I want to see. And he gets unhinged. He gets in the zone. I can't wait to see it.
All right, what do you got, Andrew, ready for this one?
There's no way that Wyatt and Lashley will be anything even remotely good. There's no chance. I love Bobby Lashley. The guy has no personality. It's just, it doesn't work. It's a bad idea for a match. What I do want is Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt, and I'll tell you why that is, because I think that it's a match that we haven't seen really. Right? Have we seen that match?
No,
we have not. Okay,
I don't think so.
But here's the thing: I don't like the fact that Bray Wyatt is being booked as a supernatural killer, because you're painting yourself into a corner the same way they've done with other people and the same way they've done with him as the Fiend, and haven't learned anything from it. The more he wins these matches and the stronger he looks, the more it's going to make him a title contender. And there's no way I want to see him in that world title picture. So let's put the brakes on right now, okay? Let's have him take on Lesnar. Let's have Lesnar beat him, whether it's in 3 minutes or it's in 7 minutes. I don't care how long it takes. Knock him back down to earth. Have Lesnar be the guy that fights through all this supernatural bullshit and gets through it, and shows that Bray Wyatt is a human being. Get rid of all the supernatural stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's no reason not to keep doing it, but don't present it as though he's going to be a contender for a title. And that's where we're headed. You can't keep making him a big monster. Sooner or later, he's going to have to be the big monster that wins a championship. And we don't want. I certainly don't want that. So let's put the brakes on right now. Have Lesnar beat him, knock him back down to earth, and then Lesnar gets a big win against all the odds with Uncle Howdy and whatever else at WrestleMania. I think that is actually a good WrestleMania match.
Okay, now you talked me into reverting my statement about keeping them away from each other, because that actually does sound a lot better than if they would actually not have that match and they would do something hokey. Yeah,
I don't want Lashley. I mean, look, I know they want to get Lashley on the card. Look, man, put him in a 4-way or a 3-way or whatever you want to do, or have him win a battle royal. I don't give a shit, but I do not want to see Bobby Lashley lose to Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. Come on, man.
Agreed.
So I'm idea thieving a little bit. But one of the things that I heard, and actually we were talking Filthy Tom, it might have been Filthy Tom, while I was going to sleep last night, I had on Filthy 4, and so the verbiage that Bray used with these guys was, I'm going to take the last man standing, or whoever's standing after this match, look out, or whatever. So, okay. So do you, how good of a, a sidebar would it be if we had a last man standing match with Brock and Bobby on television, and the Fiend and Uncle Howdy, pour Mountain Dew and angel dust onto everybody, and they all fall asleep and nobody wins, And so neither person standing, and then you unite Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley versus Uncle Howdy and The Fiend, or Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt, and you get that tag match.
Sure, give me the tag match then.
Yeah, because I heard Vinny talking about that and Alvarez talking about that, and I actually really like that idea too.
Yeah, the only problem with that is I don't get Lesnar and Omos.
Right.
So if you give me Lesnar and Omos in night 1 or night 2, yeah, you give it to me night 1, night 2, or the night after Mania. I need to see Brock Lesnar and Omos.
How about we get Lesnar and Omos at Monday Night Raw in 5 days?
Let's do it.
And then call it a day.
No build for that. If I was Brock, I'd leave the company. That's a money match, dude. I'd go full Steve Austin. I'd walk out on that.
Oh my. All right. Well, then next we had Edge and Beth versus Finn and Rhea. And we already talked about this match a little bit before about how great Beth and Rhea were. So what other thoughts did you have about this match?
I like Finn Balor. I always have liked Finn Balor. I don't know if I care about him taking on Edge. I just don't. So I mean that's all I got to say about it. But the women I thought were the stars of the match, and they did a hell of a job. We talked about that already. But outside of that, I mean that Edge and Finn doesn't do much for me.
You know what it does do for, you know what will, and I think that it is the absolute right move is that those two Hell in a Cell in WrestleMania. There's been all kinds of tomfoolery in and around Judgment Day, people in and out all over the place. Throw them in the big cage, give them 17 minutes. I think that blood feud, settle a blood feud. I think that works really well. I don't need to see a 12-minute third on the card match. But you want to position that somewhere in the middle or later in the card with Hell in a Cell, then I'm all the way in. I think that'd be great.
Let's do it. I'm in for that.
I have always wanted to see the Cell in person, and what better way to see it than at WrestleMania? I mean, I know that like when you're there in person, you can't see jack shit, but I would love to like see just like the aura of Hell in a Cell at a WrestleMania. Yeah. I mean, the last time they did that was Undertaker and Shane McMahon, and before that, Undertaker, Big Boss Man, and Triple H Undertaker. So, the visual of the Boss Man.
Yep. Poor Philip
on that one. But I have always wanted to see a Hell in a Cell match in person, and that would absolutely give it to me. Give me more of that. Yeah. Exactly what I want.
Yep, and I to me that it only makes sense. There is no reason to still be doing this and make this a Mania match if it's going to be just a wrestling match, or even if it's a no DQ match. This to me, we're talking blood feud here. We had Rhea smash your wife's head with a chair while you said no, please don't, I quit. They already had an I quit match. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's got to be in the Cell. And if it's in the Cell, I think that's awesome. One thing that I need to say, because when you said about the bright lights, it made me think of Hollywood. Andretti, I'm not even kidding. And I wanted to say this before, but it just couldn't get my shit in. When you said about Cardona being Indiana Jones, I thought that was a Mania and Hollywood vignette that they put on Raw. I didn't realize that he dressed up like Indiana Jones for a show. I thought they brought Broski back to be Indiana Jones and to save Chelsea Green from the Temple of Doom or whatever. I'm dead serious. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'll see if I can find that on YouTube. I didn't know that he actually was wrestling a match in Indiana Jones gear.
I absolutely wish that is exactly what they did.
I went all day thinking that, dude. I woke up and read that first thing in the morning, and I was like, oh, it sounds like a cool YouTube clip. I'll have to check that out.
That match was him and Nick Wayne from GCW the other night. That match was good.
Yeah, that I could see. I just thought that it was a big production Hollywood movie spoof.
Well, I like that they're giving little sprinkles of dust on the Hollywood vignettes with they did like the Seth Rollins was Joker and Becky was,
Yeah.
and I like that. Like, let's give more of that. 39 days away, keep plugging along at them. You keep giving it to us. Give
Yep.
it Drew McIntyre's Braveheart like Triple H was back in the day.
Oh, dude, that was awesome. Like when we went back and we were watching all those WrestleManias when we were locked down a couple of years ago, I very much enjoyed every single one of those. They were beautifully hokey. You know what I'm saying? Like they took them just as seriously as they should have, but they weren't cringeworthy. Like I thought that those were really well done, and their production's always off the charts. So yeah, and the Seth as the Joker was perfectly fine.
Yeah, loved it. One thing before we move on to the US title Elimination Chamber, I thought it was really interesting that the finish was the Shatter Machine, and they said Shatter Machine on the air. I know that like Edge is really good buddies with FTR, but I thought that was really interesting, especially for the fact that, you know, FTR is making their decision in April. Who knows where they're going, but you know, they could very well go back to WWE, and I think they'll be welcomed back with open arms. And I'd hate to see them go from AEW because I think AEW really needs them in the tag division. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting that was their finish of the match.
Well, and that is so where we heard for all those years of Vince screaming in the ears of people, producing them as they're talking. This was a very, very, very well thought out, meticulous. What do you want to say it? Like one of those just subliminal things that they dropped in there that not only did they use the move, but they called it the Shatter Machine to say, hey guys, Uncle Paul's here. Hey, you remember how he used to book you? You remember whenever you really like that? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I do my fair share complaining about, you know, that Dax Harwood hasn't been happy with how he's been booked in the last 10 years. But that being said, I know that they were very, very happy. No fists, no flips, just fist guys at NXT. And it was their main roster run whenever they had him wearing nipple tassels and all that, and that pitched outfit and all that there, that they really, really fell out of love with the company. But I just think that's really smart. And we want to call it marketing or a sales pitch or whatever. I give credit where it's due. That was a really, really smart move to try to generate some momentum to get people talking about What If, because whether or not the fans want them isn't going to decide what they want to do. Right. But you know, that little sort of shout out, I don't know, man. That probably would have made me feel some type of way if I were those guys. And so I thought that was a really, really, really heady play.
Yeah, I was listening I caught up on the last two episodes of FTR with Harwood, and he talked about the Bucks and FTR match from Full Gear, and then this past week he talked about the Usos. And from the way he speaks, like he's like, yeah, like I didn't like the way we were booked, but then I understood why we were booked that way, and it was all my fault. And now I love like working with Tony and all that. So I don't know if he's just blowing smoke up Tony's ass to make Tony feel great, but he doesn't speak very highly of the WWE system, loves the WWE people, but doesn't speak very highly of that system, and now like loves like the AEW and like what Tony does. So I don't know what that means, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they did that.
Well, it's easy to love where you're working whenever you're presented as a big time star, right. And they absolutely have been. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're doing a casino tag battle royale, and it is nonsensical that they're not the Joker. I don't know how they're not the Joker, and if they're the Joker, and then they are the fourth team in that tag championship match at Revolution, and then they get those belts. To me, and look, man, if you don't have him signed, then you don't give him the straps. And so I don't know what the contract situation is, but that makes all the sense in the world to me. That being said, again, I do think that it was really smart for them to throw that out there, and because I'm sure that I'm sure that they liked the way that Triple H booked them, that they were used, who they feuded with, how they were presented. And so as much as they didn't like Vince steering the ship, you know that Triple H has been dangling the keys in front of them and saying, honey, let's drive. So
agreed. But all right. So the US title elimination chamber. I thought this was probably one of the best elimination chambers that I've seen in a long time for the men's side. I love that it was for a mid-card title. They need to do more of that. I love the fact that they're putting that up on a pedestal and it felt like a prize. Not overly thrilled with how Theory performed in the match. I thought Theory could have been better. But then again, he's not quite there yet, which is why he's the mid-card champion.
I don't remember anything he did in that match.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like he's a champion, but no one remembers what he did, and that kind of really sucks for him. I thought that they had a great spots, and the ending where they mixed in the fact that Logan Paul hopped in there and screwed Rollins out of the win, and to segue into Rollins versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania. That's a WrestleMania match for sure. And they've put Seth Rollins in like 2 big spots back-to-back years here now. They put him in a lot of big spots in WrestleMania if you look at it over his course of his career. But getting the Cody spot last year, getting the Logan Paul spot this year, that has potential to be match of the night, whichever night it's on. And love it, love it, love it. There was some really good spots in there. I thought Bronson Reed looked really good. Gargano had a really good showing for somebody that is a nothing happening dude right now. I thought he had a really good showing. But yeah, I really like this chamber match, and yeah, what'd you guys think of it?
I mean, excellent combination of contestants. Was the first thing I wrote. I mean, the mid card belts are kind of the next man up belts, right? So from that standpoint, everything was great, man. I mean, you put Rollins in there as the veteran, who did a great job. I mean, Montez Ford is a future superstar. I mean, everybody who's ever watched wrestling or watched NXT knew that guy was going to quickly outgrow his tag team partner. I mean, it's time to pull the trigger, man. You've presented him now as somebody who is a credible singles guy that can hang with everyone. I mean, no pun intended with him hanging from the cage, but he's a guy that can hang. I mean, it's time to kind of let's get rid of the Street Profits. Let's push the other guy out. Have the other guy turn on him and hit him over the back of the head and play the jealousy angle. And if you want to get Bianca Belair involved and say, you've got everything going for you. Your wife's the champ. You're going to be a single star. What about me? Whatever, what about Raven kind of deal? whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. But now's the time to do it. It's time to pull the trigger on that. Let's get rid of that. I mean, Ford for me is a little goofy, and it irritates the shit out of me when he does it. He's just a little too goofy sometimes. But other than that guy's going to be great. I mean, this match was awesome. Everybody in there was good. Like I said, I don't really remember anything that Theory did, but Bronson Reed's so good, man. He's so good. And Damian Priest, we've loved him. We've all loved him since the ROH days, man. He's probably gotten farther ahead than what any of us probably thought he would have at that point. As a prospect and as a real contender for opportunities. And what a great match. This might have been my favorite elimination chamber that I've ever seen.
I thought the contestants were really good. And then shoot, what you said about Montez being goofy, I am 100% on that board. He is a little too goofy for me. And why is he crotch chopping so much? You're not in deep.
Yeah, dude, he was firing him out there, man, nonstop.
You don't do it 15 times. Just do it once. If you're gonna do it, you get a one crotch chop limit, and that's it. Like, Hunter needs to get on that one because that was way too much. Like, dude, we get it already. You're a mark for DX. We all are. But you don't have to continuously remind us every time you've done a simple move in the chamber. Like, yeah. I don't like Dawkins. I think Dawkins is a big pile of trash, but Please unhook.
But get the match. Get the match. Have do the angle where Dawkins turns on Montez because he's jealous. You turn Dawkins heel, and then maybe I don't know, but I don't know if it's already at Mania or if you do it at SummerSlam or whatever it is. But you want to get that match in the ring and have Montez beat him clean.
Yep.
Yeah, my two big things with this were first, the fact that they lured Bronson Reed back. Yeah, this dude beat Okada, so like he left WWE and went to New Japan and beat Okada. So they thought that highly of him as a prospect, and for them to bring him back and just sort of capitalize on that New Japan momentum, I thought was awesome. He looked great. He was a killer. It took two people to knock him out and pin him. So all those things were fine with me. The way that he was beaten, he wasn't geeked out, nothing. So the Bronson Reed was a high spot. And the best thing that Montez Ford did, and he did a lot of great things, don't get me wrong, his sell job of that stomp, I'm not even kidding. I thought that he was legitimately getting like worked on and carried out of there. Like, and then Logan Paul runs in and you're like, oh, that's the Undertaker spot or whatever, where they have to open the cage up and that's how they get outside, or that's how you get your interference. But like, I was convinced that he was just knocked silly and he was done. Yeah. I mean, what a sell job. Not comically flopping, not laying dead motionless, like just the perfect amount of what's happening. That was really well done, man. Really well done. That was, yeah. And so that's the only other thing that I could really add is that was superstar selling from him, and that's a good thing. It's a very, especially for his guy, that it's as flashy and does the kind of moves that he'll be doing and everything else. And, baby faces in WWE got to sell. That's one of the things, whether it's Vince or Paul or anybody else in charge, is the baby faces got to sell. And I think that he demonstrated that he can catch sympathy in the right ways. And so I think that the big things are on the horizon for him. And what's crazy is that Austin Theory messed around and was pretty regular in the match, and he's just going to get John Cena at WrestleMania. like out of all these people that we can say all these good things about, Theory's going to be wrestling John Cena at WrestleMania.
That is going to be awesome.
Like, what?
I'm excited for that.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy that, like, you think like, oh, it was underwhelming or whatever, and here comes Cena. Now, I think that Theory is going to be all the right kinds of obnoxious. And so I'm here to see a month's worth of build, because Cena's on, they said 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, he's
in Raw, something like that.
A couple more. Yeah, he's on that March 1st or whatever episode. So perfect amount of time to get to WrestleMania. Super excited for that one. All right. So we're at the main event, and this main event. This is what we've been building to for this whole storyline since last April. It was the culmination of this very well told story that they very much looked into, with Sami Zayn joining the Bloodline and the big match, the big face off between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. It had all the big fight feel to it. The crowd was rumbling all night for it. They were enormous for Sami on Friday night, and this was awesome. This was everything that WWE does right. When they get it right and it looks like that, nobody does it better. And it was awesome. And I thought that interesting that they had Reigns come out first, and that Sami came out last.
That was they needed to do that. It's because like you couldn't do that whole tribal chief music after Sami's pop. Like, just let him explode and then ride it right into the bell ringing. Yeah, I didn't think there was any other way to do that.
Right. And I thought that was really smart on their part. I thought it was a really good match, and the after match antics and all that were good, and then what they did last night on Raw I thought was good. But yeah, I was not in the court of belief that you needed to put that title on Sami. I was never in that court. It doesn't need to be done. I didn't think that's the story they were ever telling from the beginning. And I understand that this is where I know that Andretti's going to throw out the restraint part of the booking for Triple H, but I thought this was very well done. I love the story that they're telling. We obviously we know we're going to get at WrestleMania with the Usos versus Kevin and Sami. Make them work for it, to make Sami work for it to get to Kevin. But masterclass, very well done. Loved it.
I thought that this was just really quick. I don't have a whole lot to say that other than to echo your sentiments that the match was awesome. The near falls were incredible. There were several times I legitimately thought that Sami was going to pin him. There was the one blue thunder bomb. I believe that was the super close one. I don't remember if we had one right off of a haluva kick or not. There were certainly at least two spots where I was like, and I think that they really couldn't go wrong here. The one thing that I heard that actually made sense was that Von Erich and Flair, Von Erich was going to win the match. There was nothing other than Von Erich winning the match, right? And he won the match, and then Flair won it back, sometime later, whatever.
Won it, but if I'm not mistaken, Mongoose, I think that they put the belt back on Flair pretty quick.
Yeah, it was in a very short time span. But the point was that that for that particular match at Texas Stadium, all that, it had to be Von Erich. And so that was the argument that I heard that I can get down with. And to be honest, here's what I think. This is my dirty little conspiracy theory.
Ooh.
With Paul's booking. I think that if you remember SummerSlam, Jesse Ventura special referee, that was supposed to be the night that Triple H was crowned the champion for the first time.
Yes.
And Mankind ends up winning that match.
Yes.
And then Triple H beats Steve Austin the next night. And I think
beat Mankind the next night.
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. Didn't beat Steve Austin. That's the important part.
Yeah, because
beat Mankind the next night.
Because Steve,
and I think that
to lose to Triple H on that card.
Yep, and I think that in deep within Triple H's mind, he thought, "You mother bleepers! Like, I should have beat Steve Austin that night. That was my night. That was the night that I was to get crowned, and you made me beat the next guy the next day." And even though it didn't stop anything about his rise to the top of the company, I would not be surprised if he didn't think, I'm not pivoting to Sami because they did it to me with Mankind, and then I had to beat Mankind, and I should have beat Steve Austin. So so Roman Reigns is going to lose to Cody. Cody's going to beat Triple H. He's not beating the guy in between. I don't want a transitional champion. I'm going to crown a guy by beating the guy. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I think that really, that's my conspiracy ulterior motive there, that the Booker was personally slighted at the what would have been the inflection point of his career that really sent him up the meteor into the stratosphere, and it sort of got taken from him because he didn't get to pin Steve Austin.
Right. But another thing, as a big Triple H mark, and what he said about that is that at that time it actually wasn't, when he looks back on it, it wasn't as bad as what he thought in the moment, because more people ended up seeing him on Raw the next night than they did on pay-per-view as actually winning that championship. So it all kind of
That's also what you say while you're still employed by your father-in-law.
But yeah, that is true too.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you said my father-in-law's a dum-dum.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So and he's on company calls and stuff trying to put over the business and whatnot. So yeah, that was I was really chewing on that one, and I thought of that one driving home today, and I was like, I wonder if that's not really the reason why he wouldn't pivot, that he was so unwavered in this is the way that we're going, is because it happened to him and he's not going to let it happen to his guy, because Cody would be his guy. Roman is still Vince's guy.
Yeah.
Cody will be his, he'll be the one that's steering the ship with, his first chosen champion.
That's a fantastic conspiracy theory. I love it. I'm on board with it. What about you, Andretti? What did you think of this main event?
I think it was the right call in advance and the wrong call the night of the show. I think that here's where the restraint got the best of the booker, and that they should have given the ball to the guy who had the hot hand and popped that town and had him lose the belt either the next night or 3 weeks later or a month later or whatever, because Cody beating Reigns at WrestleMania has nothing to do with Reigns not having the belt for 24 hours. And that's that. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about this since last weekend, watching the show. I think they missed on Ziggler, they missed on Rollins, and they were gun shy with Sami Zayn, and they should have done it. They should have put the belt on Zayn for a week or a day or a month or whatever you want to do. And I really think they missed the boat. And this is where Triple H's restraint, which I greatly praised earlier, came back to bite him in the ass with a main event.
My biggest problem with it, and again, it goes back to that Kerry Von Erich thing where everybody knows Kerry Von Erich. Well, I know I've never seen that match, dude, but I know that is a big time wrestling moment in history of Kerry Von Erich beating Ric Flair. And I couldn't tell you when he lost the belt back or anything like that. And so you don't get a chance to have moments like that very often. And so with that, that wouldn't have been the wrong call. Absolutely wouldn't have been a wrong call. The thing that I think they did wrong was that they didn't like give the crowd any like big pop at the end besides the haluva kick. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't get the hug with Sami and Kevin Owens, or, we didn't, like, there wasn't anything that you got to leave there and be like, wow, that was awesome. Like, everybody left being like, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have this magical night. The entire night is magical. That was a 30-minute magical main event. And you literally leave saying, like, that's the only thing.
If they would have gotten the Owens and Sami hug reunite, that would have absolutely been the feel good fans leaving on a good note. I think that would have absolutely been appropriate there. Or
even, I'm sorry to thunder over you really quick, or even Jay hitting Roman.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy attack, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something like that even like would have been crazy, and we got none of it, So
yeah.
Look, you've got a game plan going into WrestleMania, and you want to stick to that game plan, and you want to make that game plan work. But what if something better comes along? What if something else comes up where you can create this special moment that people are going to remember forever? Because here's the thing, Sami Zayn is not a joke. This guy is really good, and people really like him right now. Giving him the title for a couple days or a month or 2 weeks doesn't matter, man. Even if he never holds that belt again, so what? But people still talk about the Texas Tornado beating Ric Flair. And that was a perfect example that you gave with that, Mongoose. Perfect example. Nobody remembers the fact that Kerry only had that belt for a month. Nobody remembers that. The people remember that. People remember that moment because it meant so much. And I think they just really they just blow it with that. Their restraint hurt them in the moment.
So do we think Vince would have put Sami over?
I don't think Sami would have ever been in that spot.
Well,
it's you know what? It's tough because I think you might be right here, Andretti, but Vince ran with Kofi Mania. And Kofi, like Sami, was I don't want to say a mid-card geek, but a mid-card geek for a long time and is undersized and everything. And now he beat Daniel Bryan. He didn't beat, Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns. And when Kofi did wrestle Brock Lesnar, it lasted 6 seconds. And, that was what it was. But I don't know, man. He may have been more apt to make the change than Hunter was in this situation. But again, I don't think that that you could make a wrong decision. It is you're 1,000% right though in that. Roman having this belt, it's not the longest reign ever. Like it'd be one thing if this was the longest reign in the history of the company or something like that. That's not it. And the reality of it is that him losing that match, Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. You know what I'm saying? Like there's been upsets and underdogs and things like that. And Buster Douglas didn't have that belt. He got killed by Evander Holyfield however long later. Like there is a precedent in sports history for the unstoppable force to get caught on the wrong night. You know what I mean? And for the magic moment to be there, and then he gets himself back, and then then he goes back and wins the rematch or whatever. And they would not have sold one less ticket. There would not have been one less buy if that was, like you had said, Roman as the champion for a month after he beat Sami, as opposed to being the champion for 3 years. That's not going to make any difference. But I can't fault them for not wanting to deviate from that plan. And that goes back to why I think that may have been the decision that they made. But it is what if. And the problem is we won't see that for years and years and years. That was something that was it was organic, and it grew, and it wouldn't stop growing. And you were in the right place at the right time, literally, for both, and they didn't do it. So
yeah. I think if it wasn't so close to WrestleMania, that they probably might have, but with WrestleMania literally 40 days away at the point of time when they did it, like, I don't think.
What does it matter? All the tickets are sold.
Well, right, but Triple H is a huge he's a huge like plan guy. Like that, we've seen it a lot with and whenever he ran NXT, he had a plan, and that was the plan, and you never deviated from the plan. And I know that like that's not quite conventional anymore, but that's the way that he books.
I mean, look, it's hard for me to say this because they just sold the media rights for $1 billion or whatever it was for Peacock, and they're going to sell the company for $7 billion or $9 billion tomorrow or whatever it is. It's hard for me to say this, but you left money on the table. you left money on the table with not putting that belt on Zayn and not running with that and getting a buzz going for a couple of weeks. That's just my opinion. I've thought about it since Saturday night, and I definitely thought Reigns was going to win. And in the moment, I thought it was the right call. But after sitting on that for a couple of days, I thought that they really missed out on a special moment in wrestling.
Yeah. When you say it like that, it's making my wheels turn.
I mean, it's not real, man. It's not real. It's not real. You can create these. You can create these moments.
But and I literally was just going to say this. So you set up the T. They there's the thing about I think that was Meltzer said about that there's these MMA fighters that go to Brazil and they have this great homecoming and they're in this big main event and stuff. But like whenever you're in those sports, you are leaving it up to chance. Like with wrestling, you don't need to leave it up to chance. Like you literally get to say like, oh, we have this perfect chance. And so you get to pick the result. So that's thing one. And then thing two is that for the ratings, for what it is, the biggest quarters that they've done over the last 2 months or so, their biggest spikes in viewers are all Sami Zayn segments. They're not Roman Reigns segments. Cody's a mover, Sami's a mover. And so, there's that. Like, whether or not Roman's on the show, people tune into Sami. And so it's not like that's just a nothing thing too.
Right. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. We are 38 days away, I believe, because yesterday was 39. We're 38 days away from WrestleMania. It's going to be the biggest of all time, like they always say every year. But thank you to you both for coming on and talking about Battle in the Valley and Elimination Chamber. We will see where it goes. Really excited for this WrestleMania season. Excited for SmackDown. We got Tony Khan's huge announcement tomorrow, so we'll see what that is. And yeah, we're on our way to WrestleMania, and Revolution is in a couple weeks too. So we'll be talking about that here in the next couple weeks for sure. So make sure you check us out on Twitter at @the_Podski. Check us out on Instagram, @the_Podski, and Facebook at the Podski with John Baker. And we will see you next time on the Podski.